We're celebrating 55 years of Season 7 here on Who's Views, and now we head back to January 1970 and the story that started the John Pertwee era. It's Spearhead from Space.
Hello everybody, it's us here at Who's Views Reviews. Thank you. The crowd goes wild. It's like being at some sort of inauguration or something like that, isn't it? But nice to see you all, everybody. Nice to see you. Welcome to this. This is one that I know certain people have been looking forward to for an awful long time because, yes, it is our Spearhead from Space review. As you can see, everybody, I'm joined by Kirsty, lady of the chat, Phil, and with Paul, with George, the third Doctor, Ian, of course, and with Michael. Nice to see you guys. Here we go then.
I'm here literally down under on the screen here. And apologies, folks, if I'm a little bleary-eyed. It's morning here and I've just woken up and I'm having trouble finding my shoes.
Well, yeah, it's great to see you all in the chat. Thank you so much. Yeah, make sure that you're getting all your comments into this the show as well. And if you are out there and you're watching and you're not in the chat, come into the chat. Let us know what you think of this story. Because, yes, we are heading right back now. Paul doesn't like me saying this. 55 years. Spearhead from Space was first broadcast on BBC One, the 3rd to the 24th of January, 1970. So this is it. This is when it was on 55 years ago. Written, of course, by the legendary Robert Holmes. I'm going to say that because I have absolutely no problem saying that. But yes, the legendary Robert Holmes. It was, of course, directed by Derek Martinus. It was produced by Derek Sherwin, and the script editor was Terence Dix. Uncle Terry there, everybody. And this was massive. As we all know, this was the start of a brand new era of Doctor Who. Colour. Ooh, who'd have thought that? And, of course, well, this fella turned up, didn't he? 55 years of the mighty Pertwee. And I hope we're doing some justice to that. We had our Season 7 overview last week. We've got another show coming up this week. But we had to do this one, didn't we, guys? It had to.
The man.
That is a doctor. Doesn't need to say anything, doesn't need to do anything. You just see that picture. Doesn't matter that it's black and white. That is a doctor.
Is he healing a cab in that photograph?
I don't give a damn what.
Ian, that is not a doctor. That is the doctor.
The doctor, yeah, absolutely. And he could be hailing a bag of fish and chips. I don't care. He does it.
It always amuses me on how on that first photograph there with Pertwee on the ladder, how disinterested Caroline John is in the crew bus there.
I never noticed that. Sitting there going, what is this show anyway? I don't get it. In a police spot. What is he doing there?
Oh, no, this is such an important show as well. And as lots of you have been getting in touch with us on the comments for our Season 7 overview, Spearhead from Space is the way to reboot Doctor Who and still keep it Doctor Who. It's been tried to be copied several times since, but nothing quite matches this, does it? Of course, This particular episode got this. Yes, the now legendary Radio Times cover. Who? John Pertwee. That's Doctor Who. I still love that. And there he is there looking, well, like Doctor Who, Ian, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's sad, I know, but you look at things like that and you watch this story and you just see how far it's fallen, and you think, can it possibly, having fallen so far, can it possibly even get back to average, let alone the quality of this story, which for me, this is peak Doctor Who. I think everybody knows that it's peak Doctor Who. It's my personal favourite of all time.
Is it?
Yeah. I know it's a shock to all of you.
I thought you might hate this one, Ian. I wasn't sure.
I thought he liked Space Babies. That's what he told me.
Oh, look, come on.
Boo!
Fact check false.
I'm going to chuck something at him. I really am.
Yeah, a Dalek or a K9 or an Auton head or something like that. Lots of people joining us already in the chat. Nice to see you all, everyone. Peter Venkman fan said classy cover. Yes, it wasn't. Martin McNeef, nice to see you as well. That's a hell of a cover. Paul Schlafter, first on the polometer, is saying if only we could have a Doctor Who like that these days. It's not gonna happen. I'm Forbidden Man. Nice to see you. Hello. He hit the ground running and he did not stop for 5 years. Basically, did not stop.
As soon as you felt the Tardis, fantastic. Yeah.
Stephen Saint was the opening of Spearhead with the meteorites and the unit radar teachers was tense and dramatic, and you were hooked from those opening moments. It was an epic opening. It is. I mean, you know, I've watched this several million times over the years, and not just several million times over the last few days getting ready for this, because it's so easy to watch, isn't it? And it's so.
Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, every time you can go into this, and it's just brilliant, isn't it? It's absolutely fantastic British telly.
It's no understatement to say this is, excuse me, this is the story that single-handedly saved Doctor Who from being canned. Because if the public hadn't taken to this one, it would have ended 21 weeks later, and that would have been it.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Well, I mean, you look at 2005. You look at 2005, and this was almost blatant plagiarism, wasn't it? In elements, this is the story that David's absolutely plundered to get his major plot scenes and plot story, and it still wasn't a patch on it, but it was still good enough to propel it on to, sadly, the state that we've got now. But he knew where to go. Again, it highlights what we've said numerous times. He doesn't have the skill to write it himself. He always plunders. But for me, he went to the best story possible to kick it off again in 2005. But it was a pure rip-off, let's face it.
But it shows you as well just how ahead of his time Robert Holmes was to write in shop window dummies. And that was the element, the brilliant thing about old Doctor Who, wasn't it? It took familiar things, everyday objects, and made them a little bit scary. You know?
Yeah.
We've got here Andy's Vinyl saying, hello panel, 55 years. Oh goodness, I must be old.
Stop it.
And nice to see the Ark in Space in the chat as well. Hello, sir. And John Pertwee says John was finding his feet in this story. He made a decision to play it straight from this adventure onwards, Green Death being the exception, I think. I mean, again, it must have been a culture shock for everybody that was watching this at the time, thinking, oh, it's John Pertwee.
Yeah, imagine fans of the Navy watching and thinking, oh, we're going to get, you know, what we used to, and then all of a sudden, well, he's a bit, as we said last week, he's a bit comical at the beginning, but he
doesn't do any funny voices in this, does he? So,
no. But I think sorry, George.
I was going to say, but I think the most significant reason for the big jump in viewing figures from the end of the War Games to episode 1 of Spearhead from Space, people tuned in because it was John Pertwee.
Yeah.
You know, he brought the viewers in.
A lot of love coming for John already in the chat. Julianne, John Pertwee, we are not worthy. Paul Stenford saying John Pertwee, what an absolute legend. We'll never see another like him. Absolutely. Totally. And we've got this for you, Ian. Look at this from Mark. Everyone get ready. Third Doctor, Ian, the floor is yours.
I'm trying to rein it in.
Don't keep going. It's fine.
Ian, brace yourself. I watched this the other day, and like you, I think this is not absolutely wonderful TV, absolutely wonderful entertainment, absolutely wonderful Doctor Who. But watching it again the other day with the most critical eyes I could find, I do have some comments.
Uh-oh. That's fine, because, you know, I want to hear them, obviously, because knowing your sort of like encyclopedic knowledge of stuff like this, I want to know that. I want to learn that. It won't diminish it for me in the slightest. It'll just
be careful, George. You may be off Ian's Christmas card list. Just be
yes, I'm going to have to run that risk, I know. But the first one I will say, I mean, as I just said, this is an absolutely wonderful story. There is so much in it which is just top tier. And the ace in the pack is John Pertwee, without a doubt.
Yes, totally, without a doubt.
But I think, not necessarily a mistake or an error or a flaw, but looking at it again, I think he's underused. He doesn't get into his stride as the Doctor till towards the end of episode 2.
Yes.
Now, if you look at Robot, 10 minutes in, Tom Baker, MBE, boom, fully formed. He's the Doctor. You know, what you got 10 minutes into episode 1 of Robot was what he was going to be for his tenure, pretty much. Whereas with John Pertwee, to me, it feels like he was a bit sidelined.
I think it helps.
He should have been the very center of the story.
You get fed the Doctor slowly, and you get little teases. But I think really, what for me really works because it gives you that little hint of him, and you get to explore him at firsthand, which is lovely. I really like that.
I agree with Paul. I quite like the fact that he's brought into this gently, because obviously this is the second follow, if you know what I mean. This is the second one after Hartnell, and it's a big. I quite like the mystery of that.
Yeah,
that whole thing there, where he's gone through that trauma, and it is really the setup for everything that's around him as well. I don't mind it so much. I know what you mean, George, but I do
know what George is saying. Yeah, but
and they did the same for the Daleks, didn't they? Troughton's in it right away. There's not any kind of waiting for him, so they kind of got him right into it. But I think this way works nicely for a new audience, and just to explore the character a bit. And you get all that lovely build-up of he's an alien now, he's got 2 hearts, different blood, etc., etc. All that kind of stuff is lovely. It really helps with the alienness of the character as well. It's really nice.
And this is they really lean into the post-traumatic stress trauma of regeneration that they really lent into later on. Like, this is the first time it really. Yeah, I know Troughton's a little bit all over the place, but this I know what George is saying, but I do like the way he's brought in quietly, because even in bed unconscious, John Pertwee knows how to enter the room.
He really is acting there, isn't he?
It's
one thing about that in those scenes. There's a lot of empty beds for a hospital ward there, isn't there?
Yes, I know. It's John
no
Pertwee.
bed blocking in the 70s. That was it. That's it.
Clear the room.
The 70s Britain wasn't as busy as it is today. Ooh, controversial. Kirk Stacey, nice to see you. I have fond memories of this story, as I was bought the VHS one at Christmas. The serial looks beautiful in HD. I'm sure it will look good again in March if additional work has been applied to it. Well, time's going to tell with that one. Hello to Lex, who's saying to us we get to see the first scene of the Tardis landing and a quick appearance of John Pertwee as the new Doctor Who. Yeah, absolutely. And Paul Stensford, Spearhead from Space is such a tightly written episode. It's full of suspense, action, and wonderful moments for both Unit and the Doctor. It's amazing stuff. Wow, I don't think we're going to get many complaints about this one today. What's this one from Bill? Bill Larry saying, say to the Notwees, the first Pertwee story, you get a blank. Say the first colour story, blank. Say the one with the shop window dummies. Oh, that one. Good point.
And then they say rules.
Well, yeah. I mean, I get what George is saying. And I have made a note of George's comment, and I will be making notes of the other ones to come back to him later. But,
you're on the naughty step, George.
This one, it's appropriate to the story, because yes, he's regenerated, but if we think he's actually not naturally regenerated, has he? This has been forced by the Time Lords, so potentially he's going to be a little bit.
That's
more...
going to hurt, isn't it?
Yeah. But I think it's the right way to do it. Whereas, like you said, other ones build on that post-regeneration trauma to the point where they just make whole stories and series about it now, to the point where it's pointless and meaningless.
Absolutely.
But at this point, it's just, I think it fits.
I think as well, like, because the War Games ends and you don't know who the second Doctor's regenerated into.
Oh no, you do. You do now.
You do know.
Oh yeah, sorry, because he's got that blue shirt on. And then...
No,
but then
talk about that nonsense, please.
You pick it up, and then you see what he looks like eventually, and then slowly you're introduced to what his personality's like.
It's a soft reboot, isn't it?
I'm with Paul. I like it. I like the fact that you don't see much of him.
Can I ask a question of the panel? And George, your encyclopedic knowledge will come in here. What is I'm sure I've read it. What is the reason they did a model shot for that? Did they forget to get a plate of the?
Oh, you mean by the TARDIS arriving?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the edit doesn't match when it cuts from the model shot to the actual prop.
What was the reason for doing the model?
And by this time, because the police box prop had been amended so many times, the model didn't actually match the prop anymore.
Yeah, but was there a reason they didn't shoot the actual prop materializing? Like, did they just not?
I think it would have been for ease. It would be far easier to do it on a model set. Than heave a full-size prop around. Actually, if you notice on that photograph you just had on screen there, JT, you'll see that the lamp is broken at the top there.
It is. You see that?
Where you start, look at the color.
When it gets to Unity, it's miraculously repaired.
I got to say though, I love seeing the TARDIS beaten up.
Oh, so do I. It's much more
Right.
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love it looking like, you know,
Yeah.
knocked
It
around.
sounds like the
It
old
looks
meat
well
stick.
travelled, doesn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good.
I love it.
Yeah.
I will say about that shot though, is in 1970 with it's pre-decimalisation, wasn't it? So
Yeah.
2 shillings and 6pence to spend on the effects. They
much
managed
as
they managed the materialisation of the prop and cut to the live action. Pretty, the model's got a bush behind it. The police box doesn't, so it is a bit jarring if you're watching it. If you were watching it at the time, you probably wouldn't have taken it in.
Doesn't worry me.
Yeah.
Doesn't worry me. And even the TARDIS sound effects slightly odd.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but they cut
Yeah,
it
well,
in. Now, you look
Yeah,
at the
I like
one
it,
that
though.
they've done for the War Games in colour,
No,
and the
no.
edit there is awful. You know,
No.
55 years later, loads more money, and their editing is awful on that. Even the audio doesn't match. And it's just like, if you're going to butcher it with some pride. Don't emphasize how much of an idiot you are.
Sorry.
Go on, Michael.
No, I was just going to say, I like the tape effect of the TARDIS going backwards for a second, and it's just like, he's not driving it properly.
It's about switch it on now. Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
You can actually say, as many fans have said to me over the years, you can actually say it was different because the Time Lords just went bang.
Right,
That's what I assumed.
There you
assumed that was
go.
the point.
I think you might have been one of them that said that to me back in the day. Actually. Listen, we've got Paul Schluff saying to us, John Pertwee was my first Doctor thanks to the VHS. That really makes me feel old. I wasn't even a fan until my mum bought me a Doctor Who video for my birthday. I think it was 1991 and I was 10. I feel old.
I love your mum already. That's fantastic. Superb.
We've got this one from Paul Stenterford saying, to this day, I still get a little nervous when I have to pass a shop's mannequin. We'll move on. Just in case.
To follow on from what Ian was saying, I mean, one of the many, many pluses of this story, which far outweigh the little question marks I've got, is you were saying about the effects and how they were achieved on film. Everything was done in camera. So, what ended up on the film when it was processed is what was broadcast, and everything works terrifically well. Even the age-old tricks of running film backwards and all that sort of stuff, but, really good editing.
That's a great effect when the Auton kills people, isn't it? That's so good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We've got
also
when
it gets ransom in the tent, you see the Auton gun, but you also see ransom, and he goes off the bench. But the Auton gun and the charge that's sewn into his costume, they detonate in sync perfectly. Just bang, and he's got. And to say, like you say, it's done in camera, it's done live, it's one take kind of thing. Fantastic. Absolutely.
Criticism of the production of these shows, when you get it in with modern audiences saying, "Oh, it's too slow," "Oh, it's this, it's that." They need to watch other shows that were made at the same time.
Yeah.
That's the thing,
This is quite pacey, though, isn't it? Don't you think?
Yes,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Well, listen, guys, we're really behind on everybody that's in the chat. We've got a lot of people watching this. Let's get some chats in here now, because I've really got to say hello to everybody that's joining us as well and get their opinion. Eddie is saying John Pertwee was my first Doctor, and Spearhead is the best Auton story. Time Lord Victorious, nice to see you. I find it makes you hungry to see Pertwee even more. The Christmas Invasion, they really pushed the boat until the end of the episode when they introduced the 10th Doctor. Yeah, that was due to the conversation we were having there about that. We've also got Julie Ann saying, what? Criticisms of Spearhead. They were introducing Liz and Brig's partnership while the Doctor was recovering from the regeneration. Exactly. It plays there, doesn't it? Mark Milford with us saying Spearhead from space stands tall in Doctor Who lore as Pertwee's era busting onto the scene with adventures galore. Oh, that sounds like something for a tagline for a trailer. Carwin, nice to see you. The slow introduction of John allowed them to reintroduce Unit and the Brig. God bless him. God bless him. What else we got here? Top Man Dog One. My first time watching this live. Well, welcome. It is nice to see you, Top Man Dog One. And what a top dog he is, I tell you. But lovely to see you. So thank you for joining us. Atherstone 55. This is the oldest story I remember watching and my favorite story of all. See, I mean, even today, it's just huge in the standards there, isn't it, really? What's this from Forbidden Man? The confusion he shows at the hospital was such fun, and tricking Liz to get the keys was so schoolboy funny as we kids loved it. It's also very, very British.
Yeah.
Do you not think, everyone? It is. It's just total British
He has
humour.
less of a tantrum in this one than he does in Tale of the Autons, but that's another story entirely.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. What's Top Man Dog One is saying to us here? Spearhead was the first classic DVD I bought and the first classic story I'd watch entirely. I'd seen a bit of An Earthly Child at the Blackpool Doctor Who experience. Oh, well, fair enough. Ark in Space is saying to us, my mum met John Pertwee years ago when he was staying in the hotel she was working at dressed as Wurzel in the early 90s. Yeah, there was straw everywhere. He took a stumble downstairs and my mum managed to stop him falling over. Well, hero mum.
Was the Ark in Space's mum dressed as Wurzel or John Pertwee?
Now I know we've had
Was it a Wurzel convention if they both were? That'd be interesting.
I know we've had some super chats, but Kirsty, I can't see them in my stream, so you're going to have to read them out for me, darling, because I can't see them on the StreamYard.
So, thank you, Lex Kane, for his first one. You feel so sorry for the unit communication of ISA, who is sweating with no air conditioning. And then Lex says again, thank you very much. The 70s color title sequence still works today.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
It does.
And then Thomas Ashworth, thank you again, my friend, for another £5 with a dancing pair, which our JT loves. So thank you very much.
Oh my
guys.
goodness, right. I'll have to look at that in a second. But no, I'm sorry about that. For some reason, the platform we're using, it's called StreamYard, is not showing me your super chats this evening, and they're not coming up. So sorry about that, but hopefully it will catch up to us. There's always something. There's always some sort of technical issue. I don't know what it is, but it's ridiculous. But thank you very much, everybody. We've got a question here from Mark A. Wright for Ian. Is Pertwee's Doctor in this story your definitive version of this incarnation? It's evolved quite a bit. How do you feel how it ended up by Planet of the Spiders?
It was not my definitive, no. I think it's the strongest intro of any Doctor, and even Tom Baker, although I think he's very, very close second. But I think for me, Pertwee, my earliest story that I can remember is the very, very end, and I can't remember the full episode, just the very, very end of Frontier episode 6. So my first full story is Planet of the Daleks. And for me, even now looking back, I think that kind of middle point coming close towards the end is where it got for me to be peak Pertwee. But again, when I look at stuff like the Demons, that's pretty much as well. So I would say probably he hits his stride around for me, the Demons. That is, what would Kirsty say? Chef's kiss.
Thanks for that question, Mark. Hope you enjoyed Ian's answer there. Thank you for that. And Sam is saying to us, the target book for this cemented my love for Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's one of those stories. I know I'm going on a lot. I'm sorry. I'm a bit
carry
of a
on. Sorry, it's cool.
Story, but it's you've got the story itself, sheer perfection. Obviously VHSs, DVDs. This is one of the very earliest pirate VHSs that I got before the BBC started putting them out.
Yeah.
And but the book, my God, the book is fantastic. And then, of course, you've got the book reading from Caroline John. And then you've got the actual audio soundtrack of it. Again, Caroline John. Fantastic. It's got so many individual pieces of merchandise, and they are all absolutely top-notch, setting the benchmark for everything else, in my opinion. So there.
Ditto.
And that's all he's saying on it. We've got here the Ark in Space saying Pertwee had bags of charisma in his tiny finger. He is excellent in Spearhead. And Paul Schlefter saying the Autons with the slightly melted faces really are quite scary. It's just how Doctor Who should be. I mean, they are really, aren't they? Look.
Yeah. I love that moment when the guy who's gets killed in the tent, forgot his name now. Ransom, yeah. When he's running out of the factory and Channing catches the Auton coming out to try and grab him, and he gives him a stare, and the Auton looks sad and walks off. That is really creepy.
Is it one of the sorry, George?
The shot in episode 4 where you get the camera tracking past the department store window, and one of the mannequins, the one that's sitting in the armchair, and it just jerks into life. That is just such a brilliant jump scare as the camera tracks past.
And am I right in assuming this is one of the few, if not the only times in Doctor Who that you see a bit of blood?
Yes.
The
Yeah.
windscreen.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the windscreen. That's right. Yeah, I don't know. I sometimes think that was Mr. Letts coming in. That was thinking, oh, maybe not that graphic. But
Yeah.
this shows again the adult tone, really, of
Yeah.
not just this story, but this season. This was
Mhm.
setting it all up for what was to come after in season 7. So it's an interesting one, that one, isn't it? Because we don't really get to see it for quite some time afterwards.
If at
I
all.
think it's interesting that you see the blood like on the windshield after it's crashed and things like that, but then it framed in that story, you hardly notice it because you're just thinking,
Yeah.
my God, the story's fantastic.
I loved it as a kid. I thought it
You
was
then
great.
go
Oh,
to
yeah.
Attack of the Cybermen, where you see Litton's hands getting crushed where they're covered in blood, and it's a major point of
Oh
the
yeah,
episode.
of course.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, they showed blood,
Oh,
and again that shows you how far it's come. There's blood there, and it's like, yeah, the story,
I
and
think
then
it's
there's
great.
the other, and it's
But the way they shoot the crash is brilliantly done as well by
Mhm.
Derek Martino. So I have to pronounce it like that. That's the way Tom does it.
Mhm.
Because it's beautifully shot. The way the camera spins round to show the
Mhm.
crash, that's really well done, don't you think?
Oh, it's
Yeah,
total.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is it's very
Yeah.
tightly directed, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like listening to Morphin. It must have been such an enormous change in format from what people have been used to, and they really hit the ground running. It's immediate brilliance. It's like we were saying in our season 7 overview last week. This is coming after obviously the last Pat Troughton series.
Mhm.
Totally different, and yet still Doctor Who. Somehow, the magic about season 7 is it's still somehow Doctor Who, and that's still the Doctor.
The
Because
other
the
thing to bear in
characters.
mind for
Sorry, Jim.
contemporary viewers, sorry,
No, I keep interrupting.
it's the longest gap that Doctor Who had been off the air since the program started. From the end of the War Games to the start of Spearhead, it had been off for 6-7 months.
Yeah.
So that in itself must have been quite a culture shock, and they didn't go back and run any repeats in between War Games and Spearhead either. It was totally off the air for 6-7 months. I can imagine people seeing, when BBC started to promote the new series, people going, "Oh, is Doctor Who coming back? I didn't know that."
Yeah, and look who's leading it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Sam is saying to us here as well, really enjoying Third Doctor Ian's love and enthusiasm for the story. And Eddie is saying, Spearhead from Space is everything that Doctor Who should be. Tight script, perfectly paced, superbly acted, and the icing on the cake, all shot on film.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Graham is saying to us, the Auton in the wood, standing motionless, then it jerks to life. It's chilling.
Yeah.
It must have been. I can imagine some parents being a little bit worried at that point as well, going, what have they done to this? Where's the cuddly stuff?
Oh, toughen up, parents.
That's what they did back in those days. They kept saying, yes, go ahead, go and watch it.
I love the fact when they do the Autons who are human actors without masks on and put Vaseline on them to make it very plasticky, like Scobie and Channing, all that kind of stuff. It looks fantastic, don't you think? It works really well.
It works really well. It's horrible.
Yeah.
He's creepy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What else we got here? Tardis Travels guys are saying to us, Derek Sherman, the producer playing the car park attendant, is funny.
In a costume that was 3 sizes too small for him.
Yes, a bit tight, yes.
Oh no, it's what.
That's why he couldn't answer.
One of our pals in the chat was saying earlier that you mentioned this story to a certain generation or two, and you get to that particular moment where you say, "Oh, the shop dummy," and they all go, "Oh yeah, I've had that in my time as well." Where you go, "Oh God, yeah, that was so scary," and then everybody talks about it. This is one of those moments. This is a story that gave Doctor Who one of those most iconic British moments, and people seem to remember it all the time. And this is what Doctor Who did back then. Do you remember? Every so often you get the Sea Devils coming up, the Cybermen coming up from the sewers. All these special moments. And
I have to say, I think quite scary because the third Auton, the one on the right, had a jacket like that. That gave me flashbacks. I have to say.
Yeah. I dated him back in the 80s.
Or did you?
I just love that you can get.
He's got lovely hair, I have to say. Yeah.
I just love in those days you could go to a shop and get goods, umbrellas, and trunks. That's fantastic. Look at the signage there in the background.
That was that's what it was all about. That was our shops back then. I've lost the picture now. There it is.
Very early Tesco in the background there.
Well, there's Tesco at the back
Tesco.
as well. Other supermarkets are available.
Yeah.
I was going to say other supermarkets are available.
Well, they have been around for a long time, Phil.
See, I didn't think they were that old.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, very old. Yes, very.
There used to be a chain called Presto as well, and
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wow.
Now we're going to go into reviewing supermarket.
Let's do British supermarket chains.
There's a show people would love to see, I'm sure.
Start with quick save and
Oh,
work
do you
away.
remember Lipton's?
I remember
It
you
was
walked in, you
so.
could just see, or you could see the fruit and veg was on the right. And that always took me back to the 70s.
It was a Presto in York where I got my first Doctor Who novels.
There we go,
David
back on track.
and Cybermen, Green Death, and Auton Invasion.
Oh, that's great, isn't it? That's lovely. Well, we got this from Mudcrab. I'm not sure I remember the blood, to be honest, but possibly because we just know that in the real world, people get cut and blood exists. If anything, a lack of blood seems weird. It's just that bit, Mudcrab, isn't it, Michael, where it's the car crash and the camera looks through the window.
Yeah, shot through the windscreen.
Yeah, it's
Heavily
actually very...
implied.
Yeah. But again, that's making the very best of what you got, you know, producing a convincing car crash without actually crashing the car.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, only a talented man, I tell you. Georgie boy, nice to see you. I don't remember very much about the Second Doctor, but I remember this. It must have been the first full story I watched as a child, and the fact I do remember it says it all. It does, doesn't it? And that's the magic of this story as well, because it brought the kids back in, and they were all like, "Wow!" And it was moving with the times because it was so action adventure, more so than it had been over its previous 6 years. This was a proper sort of. As I've said before, this was going into Avengers territory. This was going up with all those other stories, all those other series that were around at the time, wasn't it?
I have apologies, folks. I'm going to repeat myself. We got a lot of repeats, and we saw.
What?
No, I know. I just get the collective groans. I've got all this. But I remember there was a run where we had there's a couple of Troughton stories, the Crotons and what have and Mind Robber. And not in that order. And anyway, then went straight to Spearhead from Space. And I had a recording that I'd made on my tape recorder, holding your tape up to the TV and recording the audios. You did, as we did in those days. Mm-hmm. And I remember you could hear my dad in the background as soon as Pertwee's title sequence comes on. You hear this exclamation of, "Oh, colour!" You know, it was even then in the 80s. It was a shock.
Was it 85, Michael, when that was shown?
We got about that time roughly, because it was again, I don't want to repeat myself, but we may have new viewers. You know, I grew up on the end of Tom's era, Peter Davison, and then we went back to Pertwee, and Pertwee was when I really got into it. So effectively, I grew up on the Pertwee era, even though it was sometime after. But yeah, I just remember watching it in semi-continuity, going from black and white to color, and the narrative contrast of the John Pertwee era was quite stark, but great.
Yeah, totally. We've had this before from Graham, but it's great that he's back with us to remind us, because he goes down that street fairly regularly and always gets a buzz. You can smell the Who ghosts. Oh. Bit pongy.
Is the Tesco still there?
Yeah, it's literally a stone's throw away from Building Studios.
It's a Tesco Express now, I think, or something like that.
It is.
Can you still get trunks and umbrellas in the same place? Come on, Graham, don't give us half a fact.
That's the Coke, will you?
And we've got this from Mark, who's asking us, can you imagine the playgrounds up and down the UK the week after the shop window dummies? Every kid must surely have been pretending to be the Autons. Either that or they were going out. Especially down that high street in Ealing.
The other Doctor Who connection with that location is the lovely Liz Sladen used to live around the corner from it.
Oh, was she down there?
Yeah.
There we go. That's nice. I wonder if she saw them that day. Whipped out a sonic screwdriver. Oh, no, she didn't. But how lovely is that? Well, look, and thank you everybody for joining us. Tell us about your memories and what you like about these episodes. Spearhead from Space. I want to say hello to Prince Valium and the Restless Knights. Nice to see you. Welcome. And Tardis Travels, Doctor Who and the Auton Invasion was the second Doctor Who target book I bought. The first one was the Cave Monster. Same with me. Cave Monsters and then the Auton Invasion. Yeah, but I didn't mind. It was I got over it very quickly. Don't know about you lot.
Somebody posted earlier, just 3 or 4 posts ago, and you didn't even see the windows break when they broke out the shop. But you didn't. But you were so absorbed in it that your mind just filled the gap. And if a few years later you're thinking back to it, you'd convince yourself you'd seen them smashing out the shop window.
It's true.
Just the same as all the other memory tricks it plays on you, like not Hartnell being sat in the little workman's tent and everything else.
No, it's so true. 'Cause everyone I spoke to, the Notwees, over all these years, all insist that when they were little, that they saw the Autons coming through the window. It's amazing. It's like J&T used to say, the memory cheats.
Yeah.
You know, and I was quite surprised when I first saw Spearhead in space all those years ago. That didn't happen. I thought, oh, they've edited this. And it was a much older and wiser fan that said, actually, no, it was never there.
Yeah.
Wow, groundbreaking news flash that was to me, I tell you.
What was it the Queen said about that Ginger Whinger and the silly American woman? Recollections may vary.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking of which, Steve Hindley is saying to us, I want to know the 55 years plus viewing figures from the BBC.
86 billion.
There's too many, you can't count them. It's priceless.
They're still being collated.
Yeah.
Pertwee's on it.
Yeah, you'll never know, Steve. We've got this from Paul Centford as well. I absolutely love how Caroline John plays Liz Shaw in this story. She brings such a sense of glamour and style combined with sharp intelligence. This story wouldn't be the same without her. Oh, well, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the other thing about making sure as well, guys, that the Doctor isn't all doctory straight away, because Liz has to make the impression, doesn't she? You know, she has
a
to
great bit with. Sorry, it's a great bit with Liz where Scobie's like, "Oh, you're so lucky having a pretty girl around," and her face is just like, "Oh."
She's not just a pretty face.
But it's just a brilliant moment because it's like she's a proper scientist.
Yeah.
It's great.
Oh, she's great. She's fantastic.
Yeah. Somebody
strong female lead before 2016. Amazing.
Yeah. But they all hit the ground running, don't they? It's not just Pertwee. They all do it. Courtney does it.
Yeah.
She does it. I mean, she's brand new. Obviously, Courtney's been in it a couple of times before. She is brand new to the series, and bang, you wouldn't know it. You know, you could imagine that she'd been there instead of Travers's daughter in Web of Fear or something like that, and she's come back with Unit.
Yeah.
You know, you think that she's so convincing. She's straight into it.
Ian, it's funny you say that. I think she's very similar to Anne Travers. Definitely, you can see a similarity between the two when you watch Web of Fear. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Do you know what? I've never thought about that, but you're absolutely right, aren't you?
Okay.
I love that. Ooh.
Little nitpick coming up, like everybody. Yes, Caroline John was absolutely fantastic in that one. Spearhead from space. The story unfolds over a number of days. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet
that stays with a Y and an S at the end.
I'll cross out
Liz Shaw wears the same clothes throughout.
Well,
she's
to do her own washing. She's
mate, I go weeks, not changing.
She's a busy professional, George. For goodness' sake.
Sustainable fashion.
She's got a white coat over the top to protect her clothes. She's fine. Yeah.
That's why she's wearing the white coat.
The undercrackers, you don't know.
No, that's why she's wearing that white coat, because all her clothes are in the wash around the bit there. She's wearing nothing under that.
It's like Benny Hill, really, isn't it? So.
The other element I love is Liz's introduction. Really, this bit I've got it here. This bit. Where she's in the car and she's been taken along and she just looks slightly peeved. I love it.
The absolute disdain at what's happening to her, the way she conveys it is fantastic. You know,
before, isn't it?
I was even
that she's there on sufferance.
And to Steve Hindley's point,
in a car, isn't she? She's actually in a car. It's not like with a blue screen behind it or anything. And it adds so much more to it. Sorry, Michael, I cut on.
No, I was just going to say, and to Steve Hindley's point, yes, I do love the soundtrack. In that scene, you know, it's great.
I might get there in a minute when it comes to this. There are lots of you. Hello. Nice to see you all. Thanks for joining us for this. Sam wants to go to that hotel and see the shower. I suppose I bet you it's not there anymore. I bet you.
I think it is.
John Pertwee next it, didn't he? I think so.
We tried to. It wasn't in a hotel. It was the BBC training facility.
It was the training facility. Yeah. It might be a hotel now, though. I don't know. And Bedouir is with us, and he's saying, viewing figures, I'm on it.
He'll be right as well.
Yeah, Bedouir, you can add at least 10,000 on for collectively the number of times the panels watch this story.
We'll have a full report at the end of this show.
I know. And there's the one there from Steve saying, I bet Michael loves the awesome Spearhead soundtrack. It is very different, isn't it? It is very different. Well, don't sing it.
I wish they'd release that one. That probably doesn't exist.
Well, I don't think they're going to be watching this show. Oh, I don't think so. More on that on Sunday on Headlines. Come and join
really?
us. Liz is sexy, says Michael Q. Calm down, son. Calm down. Yes,
True, though.
she is. She's brilliant, isn't she? And Mudcrab is saying Liz has become my favorite as I've gotten older. I think the child me wasn't a massive fan, but looking at her now, she is awesome.
Yeah.
It's all about the characterization, the way she's played, and more importantly, the way she's written. It's just brilliant. All those three combinations coming together, absolutely fantastic. Andy's Viner saying the casting for all the characters in Spearhead was spot on. Tardis Travels are talking. The green gunge coming out of Channing's mask at the end is quite horrific.
Yeah.
JT, you should dedicate a whole show to Liz Shaw.
What a good idea, Michael.
What a very good idea. But stay tuned. We'll tell you a bit more about that a bit later on.
Plug for you.
Well, yeah, we're brilliant. We've got this. What's this? What's it? Prince Valium and the Restless Knights is saying to us, what do you think the stain-resistant, white, clean plastic bubble wrap front of Liz's jacket was for? Nothing was getting our Liz dirty.
Well, you can wipe it down, can't you? I think that's what you can do with it. So it's fine.
No. Yeah, her entire outfit now, Prince Valium, would be banned by our government.
Yeah.
Not allowed to have plastic anymore. Oh, no, they don't want you. John is saying Liz Shaw is class. Yeah. I love the fact there's a lot of love for Liz now because...
GT, can I ask you a favour? Could you put the picture back up of the lab with the Brigadier and Liz together?
I can. But Graham's reminding us there, how great was Hugh Burden's portrayal of Channing in this?
Oh.
Yeah.
Super.
Creepy. He really creeped me out.
Yes, man.
It really is. I've got a picture. Look at this.
Oh, the way he played it. Both of them.
He was at RADA with John Pertwee, wasn't he, I think?
That's
really?
right, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Did he get kicked out as well? Or?
Probably, yes.
I don't think he did, actually. Let's just put that there. I think he saw it through.
He stayed the course, yeah. Literally, yeah.
And which picture did you want, Paul?
It was the one in the laboratory with Liz and the Brigadier, and she's got the test tubes and stuff. So I have a little trivial fact here, because I'm a nerd, you know that. So just to the right of Liz, there's a blue thing on its end. And it's got no, not the police box. No, there's a blue thing just to the right of the corner there, and there's a silver bit. That is a spaceship from the Invasion.
No,
a cameo on Connie in space as well. So there you are. So
really,
look out for that next time. Yeah, look out for that next time you watch it.
Consider like flabbergasted.
Yeah,
I
there's
don't get
also
out much. I'm just saying that now.
Yeah.
I don't get much. So.
There's also a large domed prop. A freestanding large dome prop.
I wonder what he was going to say then.
and that had previously appeared in the Space Museum.
Did
it?
Really?
Yes.
Well, do you know what? That's
and
another
on space
go
as well,
back and watch it again, isn't it, everybody?
Are you writing this down, Ian?
Sorry?
Are you writing this down? This is good stuff. Get this on your notepad. This is gold.
Paul Schlefter is saying to us, Channing really did feel alien. And Steve Henley, Channing when he is looking through the glass at the Brig, creepy stuff. Oh my God.
That's terrifying.
That is
really
like
glass. Yeah.
Oh my
Listen to
God.
it.
And the Brig's reactions.
Look, we can't go when somebody's looking.
He was all psyched up as well. That was the thing. Yeah.
It is brilliant. That was not just the Brig, but that was Nick all over, wasn't it? Really, just to play that and to terribly British and look at him saying, "I say, I know. Are you strange?" Absolutely brilliant. I love all that. Prince Valium saying Liz was Breaking Bad in that lab. Is that you speak? Is that you speak? I don't know. I don't know.
Science.
Cool. Oh, yeah, I get it now. Sorry, I'm a bit slow today. And Julianne's saying to us, Liz Shaw, the perfect companion for a perfect season of Doctor Who.
I don't think it would have. I mean, don't get me wrong. Love Katie, love Joe Grant.
Yes,
but I don't think this story would have worked as well if you'd introduced Joe Grant at the start as well.
No.
It had to be Liz with her approach. That was just, been said lots of times for different things, but this is lightning in a bottle. Doesn't happen often.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, we now know about certain things that were going on behind the scenes. Sometimes I wish I didn't know, because on screen, this is perfection. You've got the Doctor, you've got Liz, you've got the Brig. They all come together. This entire season is a total joy. This story is a joy where everybody's coming in together, brand new, starting off brand new. Oh man, it just gives me goosebumps, I have to say. Time Lord Victoria, well, Paul Stenford saying, in my opinion, Hugh Burden does a fantastic job at shining here. And Time Lord Victoria saying, love how Liz doesn't take the Brig too seriously from the offs. Sets up their character dynamic and relationship. Yeah, the poor Brigadier. None of the doctors or companions really took the Brigadier that serious, did he?
No, bless him.
But I mean, as we said about both John Pertwee and Caroline John, equally, Nick Courtney is absolutely brilliant in this story.
Oh, isn't he just?
Though I have to say, his stick-on moustache probably looks the most fake it's ever been.
I wonder how many they experimented with.
There's a better look.
They went for this.
Unfortunately, if when it gets to a close-up, it looks like it's growing vertically. Sorry, horizontally.
But look at that one there. It's literally
it's
turning
going
up.
from shot to
It's
shot,
off, isn't it?
isn't it? Yeah.
Paul, that previous. Can we go back to the previous shot, JT? The first one of the two of the Brig. That one. That's
There's
a different blue thing, isn't it? And is that a separate cyber
No,
ship?
that's the one I'm talking about. That's the cyber spaceship from the invasion.
Just the other shots seem to have brighter sort of like little dots on those blue squares, or it might have just been the angle at the
If you've
shot.
just joined us, we're forensically analysing.
This is called Nerd Central. That's why we're here.
In
Now,
every
just say something
detail.
else. Another little fact about that particular scene. See the police box, the Doctor's TARDIS.
It's
Behind
a
that,
time machine.
episode three, where the Doctor has his tantrum. I noticed this the last time I watched it. I've watched this hundreds of times and never noticed it until the other day there. Behind the TARDIS, where the Doctor is having a tantrum, the smoke came out the TARDIS. There's a man behind the TARDIS with rolled up sleeves. You can see the arm of his shirt rolled up.
With the smoke machine.
Yeah, he's got the
exactly.
smoke canister.
So it's what we call this the hand of Sutek.
And the TARDIS doesn't.
And
I've never noticed that.
Yeah, and you can see in that shot as well the magically repaired TARDIS roof lamp.
You can.
And the
There it is there, yeah.
the TARDIS doesn't have a floor either.
Yeah.
One of the nitpick, and this-
Sorry,
Sorry, go on, Michael.
No, the TARDIS. It's up on a platform, isn't it? A black platform.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
What a bunch of nerds!
One other nitpick, which isn't exclusive to this story. UNIT is a top secret organization, and yet everybody walks around with UNIT.
like Section 31, isn't it? It's like we're top secret.
They have to go about like that so you can't see it. Yeah.
In episode 1, the press know about UNIT. Channing knows about UNIT.
Yeah.
But then outside, it's got unit headquarters, top secret.
But hang on. To be fair, they may know what the United Nations Intelligence Task Force is, but they may not know what they're tasked with.
Oh, there you go. See,
And be more than the Brigadier's job to tell them, like help them talk.
Yeah, that's the problem.
I mean, at least they didn't put an absolutely enormous sign outside the headquarters saying Unit HQ. Oh, hang on.
Okay, but apart from that, they may not know.
This is brilliant. We've got Dalek Lives Matter saying it's not a moustache, it's radar. Thank you. That would make sense. We've got Mudcrab saying, I agree that Joe Grant wouldn't have worked. Liz is carrying the science for UNIT for most of the episode as the Doctor is still in post-regen and being annoying.
It would have worked. It would have been different.
It would be
I've been interested to see her on Behind the Sofa on the season 7 box set. What she thinks of watching the first season. That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
That's going to have me bits.
Yeah.
Dalek Eye, as soon as the first episode ended, I could not wait for the following Saturday. You can't say that about today's tripe. Graham is saying John Woodnut's first 2 appearances. 2, folks. Yeah, that's true. Very true. Yeah. We've got lots of you in the chat. Mark is saying to us, the season 7 is my favorite UNIT uniform. Oh, wow.
So my nerdy radar's going. John Woodnut had 4 appearances in Doctor Who, not 2.
Yes.
So,
Nick Courtney,
I'll get my
share your
coats,
opinion there, Mark.
I'm delighted that Mrs. Lisa Pertwee's girl is with us as well, saying this is real Doctor Who. Come on then, get in there, lady. Come and tell us everything you like about Spearhead from space. What else we got here? What a bunch of nerds, says Bill Lowry, but you're my sort of people. What else we got? Great point from Noodle Arm, says Time Lord Victorious, as it shows he's different to other military commanders and respects Liz for her intelligence. Yes, because the Brigadier defends Liz with that comment we were talking about before, doesn't he? He just says no.
Yeah, she's not just a pretty face.
Yeah.
And then she goes and absolutely burns him, doesn't she, by saying, it's not a police box, it's a spaceship.
I love the way she says that. She's like, this. She's also in code saying, this lot are a bunch of nutters. Get me out.
Get out of here.
Send in proper troops quickly. She's just brilliant, Caroline John, in this. She really, really does. Unit came from the same branch of secrecy as SHADO, says Stephen Braddock.
That's from UFO, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, from UFO, that one. And New Who Hater is with us saying, hi all, generally crap your pants scary story as a kid in the early 90s on VHS. Wow, that's brilliant. Even in the 90s it was getting people. That's great to know. Great to know.
Well, that's when I'd have seen it in the 90s on video from Blockbuster Melton Mowbray. I would have got my mum to rent it out for me.
So, available film.
Bedweir has to add them on the viewing figures. We probably got it out 3 or 4 times.
I'll watch it this afternoon. I'll let you know.
This is going to be huge because let's face it, as we've said many, many times on the show, how many times do we all now have this? And how it's about to be, of course, with this release of season 7 Blu-ray collection box set added to again, everybody.
Well,
so,
this one. With the Blu-ray box set, this is the 6th time I would have bought Spearhead from Space. The only 2 I missed out on were the Laserdisc release of it.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a steelbook version of the Blu-ray as well, wasn't there?
There was.
I just got the standard version of it.
Yeah.
Nothing will beat my audio version with my mum's washing up in the background. It was sublime.
That's just fantastic. Do you know that?
And when you watch it back, Michael, when you watch the video, the DVD, I'm sure you miss those sounds when you watch it. I bet you do.
Yeah,
sometimes I do.
You can still hear them.
Clang of
that Laserdisc, George, I bought for my collection, and then a few months later realized I'd never have anything to play it on, so I sold it again. Just very, very strange thing to do, really. They shrunk in the wash, though, by the way. They came down to that size. Yeah. Dean is with us. Hello, Dean. The Sealies. What you staring at, woman? Yeah, you wouldn't get that away.
Sealies are brilliant.
The Sealies. They need their own series. They need a spin-off.
Fantastic. It really is great. Yeah.
They need a spin-off.
Mrs. Seeley, another pre-2016 strong woman in Doctor Who.
Well, well, let's ask our token woman on the panel this evening, Kirsty, lady of the chat. What did you make of that?
Sorry, we're talking over you. We're mansplaining you, Kirsty.
Also, JT's assumed all of our genders.
Look.
I know. What's he doing? For goodness sake. Who do you think he is? Yeah.
Let me explain what you're going to say, Kirsty. What you were going to say is this.
I love this episode. I don't know what I was going to say. Go back to Liz Shaw, though. If anyone's listening, you can write a character. You can be intelligent and can still learn things. I can still command a room, but still every day is a school day. What do you know? That's exciting. People should take a lesson about that because no hate, no judge. I kind of prefer her to Sarah Jane.
Controversial stuff here on Who's Views, folks.
Write that down, Ian, quickly.
We're taking calls.
Put it on your list, Ian. Put it on your list.
Well, you know what? I get where Kirsty's coming from. I've got to be honest. I mean, let's face it.
They're all great.
Liz Sladen, fantastic. Absolutely, the absolute pinnacle. But Liz, for 4 stories, if you'd given Liz Shaw an equivalent length run,
Look, they're all great. You can't compare them. They're all brilliant. We love them all.
Yeah, but they're totally different as well, aren't they? Because Liz is she is
splendid. There's all of them. Yeah,
Liz is written in this as a scientist, and then they deliberately go and change it for series 2 onwards. And you don't get anybody that comes up to his level really until Ramona at Voltralunda.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, well done, Jim.
Now have 3 sherries and say it again.
3 times very quickly. Yeah.
Fred. But it's true though, isn't it? They deliberately go against the grain for series 2 onwards, and that actually, carries on into Liz Sladen's time, and then it just doesn't.
Sorry, Jay.
such a one-off for such a long time.
But JT, sorry, who was the one with Tom Baker who you said was an equal? Who was that again?
Ramona at Tralunda.
Well done.
You know, you know how Mary used to pronounce that.
Fred,
Fred's much easier. Yeah,
She had another way of pronouncing it.
can you say it on the show?
I'll have to edit it a little bit.
It's on the Christmas tape.
Oh, darling, I played Romana de Ratner. Oh, it.
she was funny. Anyway, what have we got? Oh, look at this unit was short. The United Dairies. That's why they look like milkmen. In a deleted scene, Pertwee gives chase in a milk float and drops Autons with ski yogurts and gold top Death Stars, allegedly.
You know what? That story wouldn't age
That's
well.
Ernie. That's Benny Hill again.
That is Ernie. It's a bit of a crossover, isn't it? I've watched that, to be fair. It'd still be more serious than the crap we get now.
Eastland, nice to see Eastland. Ladies as executive secretaries would have been respected at this time. They handled communication before one could email or electronically send communication oneself as an officer or businessman. It's actually very, very true. You know, I have family members that were executive secretaries, or what we would now know as PAs as well. And the fellas that who were their bosses were completely useless at doing all that sort of stuff. They needed someone that could organise and manage them, and it was always going to be the women.
And they're always good for a cup of coffee as well, weren't they? In those days, that was always
they were just bloody awful. And we've got here as well, Mrs. Lisa Pertwee is saying the acting by the main cast in The Alternate Earth is no amazing. That's what real acting is all about, and it's a show for kids. Oscar worthy, in my honest opinion. Thank you for that. What are we going to say, Kirst?
Actually, with the discussion of the series, Mr. Later, the chat, is yet to see Spearhead in space, and he's been wanting to do it. And any time I've watched it, he's not been around. But he does like.
You mean you'll have to watch it again? What a shame.
But yes, he would be very. He is at the impression sometimes of women get in the kitchen, so then he'd be fine with that. So yeah.
So he's gonna love it. He's gonna love it, yeah.
You need to see the Silurians as well, because when the Doctor gets kidnapped, it's Liz that basically saves the human race, because she's the one that finishes the Doctor's work and saves everybody. Who'd have thunk it? Like you said, Michael, a strong woman again in 1970.
That's amazing.
Didn't happen until 2016, did it?
Yeah,
and you're talking about Missy Seeley can handle a shotgun as well, which is very good, you know.
Yeah.
So I have used before, so.
Sorry.
I could demonstrate, and again, I've handled shotguns
Handled
before.
a weapon.
Oh gosh, we won't go into that.
Comparing yourself to Mrs.
Was that
Seeley,
legally or
Name's
illegally?
Kirsty, and she lives in Scotland.
Was
In Scotland, yeah, definitely Scottish.
Don't mess with her. That's all I'm saying.
Was this the £5 million gold raid I was reading about?
On that note, I just got to dip out, just take care of some life stuff because it's morning.
Right, we'll see you shortly,
so,
Michael.
I'll see
Thank
later,
you. Listen, we've got Paul Schlufter here saying it's sad to think these wonderful people are no longer with us, but they live on forever. They would never have thought 55 years later a group of fans would be talking with such love and affection. I'm sure they didn't. Absolutely not. But it's a testament to their genius and their commitment and their talent that we are. It's just absolutely brilliant.
I completely agree with that, but much wider than that. I'm sure they didn't think 55 years down the line they would be the program that they made would be topping the sales charts when it got re-released for the nth time on another format.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, because it did it with the video as well and the DVD. Remember? They both topped the charts. Oh, those were the days. It's lovely to see these things, though, isn't it? Really, when they get there. Season 7. What a great way to celebrate its 55th anniversary. Straight to #1 in the Amazon charts. Wonderful stuff. Dougie Stewart's with us saying it was always the shop dummies that got me as well. I'm not surprised. Absolutely brilliant.
There's some great cliffhangers in this as well. Someone was talking about about Scobie there. I love that bit where in episode 3 when he meets his double at the door. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
great cliffhanger.
Now, funny enough, this is where there's a fork in the road here, Paul, because again, not a criticism, but one thing that I thought, if it had another pass, it would have done better. Is I think the cliffhangers to episodes 2 and 3 are quite weak because not as invested in the characters. that are in jeopardy as, say, the Doctor or Liz or the Brigadier.
Although I find the episode 1 cliffhanger, "Who told you to fire, you stupid?" That kind of gets me every time. Honestly, I wonder what that unit soldier was going to say. I wonder what it was going to say.
I like the fact that
on a
normal
postcard for that one. Yes.
I like the fact that normal everyday people can be used as a cliffhanger, because you're not sure they're going to get out of it. When it comes to the leads, you know they're going to be there the week after. So they're going to get out of it somehow. Yeah. But when you've got normal people in there, you know, Joe Blogs Public in there, that is a cliffhanger, because there's no saying they're going to get out of it. And you just think, oh, right, okay. I quite like that. I think it's different.
I mean, with Ransom being the subject of the cliffhanger in the second episode, that feeds really well into the fact that in episode 3 he has this total mental breakdown when he gets to the unit camp, because they give him the tea and he's literally doing a Turlo in Frontios style dribble, isn't he? It's going absolutely everywhere, and it's only when he gets taken to Unit HQ that he calms the chuff down a little bit and he's able to speak coherently. But when he's in that tent as a result of that cliffhanger, he's completely lost it, and it's just wonderfully acted. It really puts that fear across, I think.
Yeah,
I think it's got creepiness to it. I kind of agree a little bit that you've not got characters in jeopardy that you're kind of close to, but the kind of Doctor Who moments, the scary moments of those two cliffhangers are great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that, again, going back to the in-camera effects, the way the split screen is realised on the end of episode 3, the start of episode 4, where you get the two Scorpies together, is very well done. Particularly, sorry, I'm going to be a little bit of a technical nerd here, to achieve that on 16mm film and not 35mm film, where you've got half the width of the film to play with to get it absolutely right, is no mean feat. You know, and that looks very well. I just feel when I watch it that there was a bit of a missed opportunity there. That if there were characters that, I can only speak for myself, that I was more invested in, that those cliffhangers would have more of an impact for me.
Yeah. No, fair enough. That's fair enough. I just think what you're saying there just takes me back to 86 and the Trial of the Time Lord, where every week it was Colin. And
a close up of his face. Yeah. So.
It just got tired because you just knew it was not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? I love it. I think the cliffhangers shouldn't just favour the Doctor. Sorry, John. God love you. But you know, there should be some other stuff, and I quite like that, because you know that the Doctor's going to get away with it somehow because it's his show. Although they might surprise me one day, hopefully. Who knows about that one? Lex Kane is actually saying about the music, it's creepy and incredibly good.
Again, the brilliance of Dudley Simpson. He scored it like it was a film, a feature film, a TV program, and it just works wonderfully well.
Wow.
I love the Doctor's kind of jaunty theme he's got when he escaped from the hospital in the car, and when he's in the wheelchair in episode 1. All that kind of jaunty music's lovely, very very comical, but I like it a lot.
It is comical.
Yeah.
But actually, it does suit the whole thing, isn't it? Because bearing in mind he's coming after Troughton as well. I quite like the fact that Pertwee's playing it with that sort of hangover.
Mm-hmm.
I love all that as well. The comedy business, trying to start the car and, you know, going forward or reversing, all that kind of stuff by mistake. And it's really, really well done. It's very fun.
It is. I think it's really good. And if that's going to be done, you can get away with it in this story because it's a regeneration story. So the last effects of the previous one disappearing. I don't know if that's intentional by John or not, but I just love the way he plays it. I think it's so good. And I like those little bits because he must have been really trying to get at some point a little bit of comedy in there. Even though
I also love the fact the Doctor goes to a red sports car next to it and fucks before he goes to the roadster, which is interesting. That's John Pertwee, probably.
Though John Pertwee is on record saying that he didn't particularly like his performance in Spearhead, and he felt that on comedy too much, and he hadn't quite found the character yet.
Yeah,
he's still brilliant in it, whether he is or not.
What else we got here? We've got our Adrian is saying to us, Adrian James is saying to us, I looked on the HMV website and season 7's out on the 3rd of March. That's right, yeah. It was sort of put out there last week, wasn't it? 3rd of March, season 7. So not long to wait, everybody. What else we got? Never had that. The cliffhangers on the original video release. I look back on those old edited versions with affection. I remember being horrified with those. It's just, what have they done?
You and me,
as a computer, it's quite hard to watch, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes. I was simultaneously delighted that I finally got to see Spearhead from space. but horrified that it was in a butchered form.
I know, but give them their
Much
due.
more
It took a
subtly
couple of years.
edited than some, I have to say.
Yeah, but give them their due. Enterprises acted on it within at least 5 years and got it all sorted eventually, and then that was that, really.
Yeah.
But give them their
And they
due.
did that as a selling point on the video. Remember the little
Yes.
sticker on it? Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
edited
they
for
had
the
to.
first time.
Yes,
They had
so
to.
you can all go out and buy it again.
It was getting such a bad
And we
reputation. The videos were getting such a bad reputation because they did 4 or 5, which were just edited versions and ripped us off basically for $9.99. And the fans wrote in. They wrote in. The fans wrote in for these budget ones that were out there. They wrote and said no, and they listened and they were, oh, okay, we made a mistake here. Let's keep the fans happy because they're the only buggers buying the thing, really. But yeah, thank you.
The one I was really glad to get was Seeds of Death, because that was much better in single episode form, much better.
Yeah.
The thing I couldn't understand was why they edited them in the first place, because it was actually less work for the BBC to put them out in the unedited episodes than somebody to sit down and edit them together.
It was
The
probably
G&T have something to do with this. Did he
No,
say they won't
no.
like it if it's all, in normal episodes?
No, not at all.
Right.
All across that right now, nothing at all. He always wanted the originals out, and that was it. He didn't want anything tampered with. But I think it was just some bright spark in Enterprises, basically saying, let's make this into a 90-minute movie, and let's put it on a video, because video is like, wow, out there, man, yeah. As the
Was that Alexi Sale you were doing there?
It was whatever. No, I mean, I think it was genuinely the way
from
they
the
thought.
revision of the Daleks.
I think it was genuinely the way they thought these things would sell, and it's not. They didn't, because they didn't, as they don't now. They don't understand Doctor Who fans. It's as simple as that. James Vermuck, nice to see you. As a young guy who went back to Classic Who, I really enjoyed the episodes. That's good to hear. And Ron Sapp is saying to his question, is the TARDIS in this episode the same from Hartnell's era, because it looks really battered? Yes, it is.
Largely, it had been through a lot of modifications by this point, but it is essentially the same prop from day one. Yes, and
the doors were taken from Celestial Toy Room, weren't they?
That's right. Yeah.
Put on there,
and it lasted right up until the Seeds of Doom, when it literally collapsed with Tom and Liz inside it.
Yeah.
As Michael was saying earlier, it's great. It's a battered police box. It looks well travelled. By the time you get to the Brain of Morbius and Seeds of Doom, it's even more battered, but it looks fantastic.
Because it was actually stagehands, of course, throwing the thing out.
Yeah.
The books refer to it as a battered police box. It's never been a pristine police box, so it matches what it should be. I mean, it would blend in more, such as it would in the 60s if it was battered than if it was just shiny new. You wouldn't notice it as much. And I think
that's one thing I don't like about the new police boxes. They're not battered enough. They just look
they're not, are they? Just absolutely ridiculous. They really,
no character.
Are.
And neither's Shooty. He should be very
allegedly. Paul Schlefter, and they still released an edited version of Death to the Daleks. Yes, they did, didn't they? That one. I think that might have been the last one. I'm not sure, but by then the letters had got in. They really, really did. It's nice to see you all. Thank you for joining us for our review of Spearhead from Space. 55 years old this very, very month, everybody. Of course, we're celebrating Season 7's 55th anniversary here on the channel. What else we got here from Julie Wendy? Nice to see you, Julie. The shop dummies were very creepy, but what made me sad was when the farmer's wife was killed. She just reminded me of my Nana. Oh, bless you.
Well, that's a sad scene as well. And the dog gets it as well, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Although, as I mentioned, I think behind the scenes when we came on, there's a dog impersonator doing the dog barks, aren't they? Is that right?
Yeah. I know.
And the whines and howls. Yeah.
Here's Killbot Kill. Nice to see you. Season 7 is one of the greatest seasons of Doctor Who, and Spearhead is my favourite. Fabulous. Steve Allen is with us. Were the edited VHS the edits made for the US?
Don't know.
No idea.
I don't know for sure, but I'm going to say no. I think they were done just deliberately for the British VHS home video market, because it was very brand new and nobody really knew what was going on, and the VHS Betamax war was still going on. The BBC obviously favoured VHS.
Yeah, because Spearhead was one of the first of the releases of the range, wasn't it? It was a very early one.
It was a very early one, with that awful cover. Yeah, no, I think it's just the way they went and did it, and they got the scissors out and said, "Let's take all the titles out of it." But thankfully, they listened when the huge letter writing campaign went on from the fans saying, "Excuse me, not what we want. Thank you very much." And they and I know Doctor Who Weekly or Doctor Who Monthly, where it was as well, they'd also printed some letters, so it got back and they sorted it all out. So it's really good. So thanks for that question, Steve. Paul Schlafter saying to us, "Don't worry, Meg didn't die. She was taken to hospital. Thank goodness." There we go.
And the dog went to the vets and he was perfectly happy, and they all lived happily ever after.
Yes.
Although Mr. Seeley went to prison for obstructing the authorities, I think.
Yeah. Farmer's wife doesn't die, says Sam. I didn't think she did either. I think she was just in severe shock, wasn't she? Dog impersonator, says Demorpin.
Yeah.
I think she fainted, didn't she, after the gunshots work against the Auton? I think she fainted.
I think she did as well.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you, as a plastic man?
Yeah. There's a line where is it the doctor asks Liz, "Is she alive?" and Liz says yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the brigadier says, "I'll lay on an ambulance."
Yeah, that's fine. Lots of it there. Thank you, everybody, for all this. Lots of chat coming in about Spearheads with us. Spearheads from space. Nice to see you all. What else we got here for you? We've got that from Meg Seeley doesn't die in Spearhead. Liz checks on it and says she's all right as far as I can tell. So that's yes, she does, didn't you? You're absolutely right. Absolutely right there. What else we got here? The first Doctor Who I got, says Dougie, on Blu-ray when I worked at my PS3 could play Blu-ray. Oh, well, that's good, isn't it? Oh, well, it's a great one to start off with. Spearhead is, I know the BBC have this sort of obsession with saying to anybody who comes new to Doctor Who, proper Doctor Who, go and watch the 5 Doctors first, because it's got the 5 of them and a selection of companions and a selection of monsters. It's not for me. This is actually one I would say go and start. Go and watch Spearhead for Space and then go straight to Robots of Death, I say, to actually sum up what Doctor Who is. You know, it's the 5 Doctors is in the top 10 to watch, but it's not in the top 5.
Yeah.
This is actually, I've got Ian to thank for this one.
Yeah.
This is actually the best classic episode I have seen, hands down, right now in my education. And then if anyone
You've seen a few now, I'm sure you have. Yeah.
Catch Me Outside. Yeah, it's the best.
I wonder what her score is going to be, Who viewers. Hey, Mrs. Lisa Pertwee, thank you so much for your super chat. Look, they are working now, everybody. Thank you so much for that. I was thinking of Inferno when I said about the acting on the alternate Earth. Sorry. It's all right. We forgive you. Right. We know. We love you. Right. Spearhead is my second favourite story of all time. The 3 Doctors being my number 1. There you go. So Spearhead is Mrs. Lisa Pertwee's second favourite story of all time. That's not bad, though, is it? I'm coming after the 3 Doctors. That's all right.
I love the 3 Doctors too,
and they're all John Pertwee.
Yeah, you can't say anything about that, can you? That's brilliant.
Something, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. Yeah, thank you for that, Mrs. Lisa Pertwee. We appreciate that. New Who hater is saying that doesn't shock me, Kirsty. That doesn't shock me. Kirsty, you have taste, says Steve Braddock. Of course she does. She's on this show. What else we got here? Geordie Boy. Another great fact about watching classic TV is the fact you can hear clever enunciation of the script. Oh my God, yes. And none of that.
I love that you've misspelt script as you said that.
You leave Geordie Boy alone, you.
I say that with fun. Friendly joy.
No, it's true though, isn't it? It's a joy actually to watch these pieces of drama and not have to get some sort of slang dictionary from the youth to find out what the bloody thing's talking about. It's absolutely wonderful. Bring back those
subtitles on. Yeah.
Or have it drowned out with loud incidental music. It just all fits, doesn't it? Yeah. You know, nowadays you wouldn't hear the dialogue, be it slang or otherwise. You wouldn't. The music had drowned it.
Yes. Yeah. Or a choir that doesn't know when to take a breath.
Exactly. In fact, in the Pertwee seasons, the only honey you're going to find are honey sandwiches. That's it. No tack from.
I'm lost.
Pertwee. Absolutely. What's Graham saying to us here? I always think Meg Seeley and Mrs. Ollis from the 3 Doctors are very similar. I reckon they are sisters. Fine with me, because they are very similar, aren't they? They are. They've even got the same costume. My nan used to have one of those pinnies, though. I have to say, you know, one of those overall things working around the house. My nan had one of them.
Well, Sam Seeley says, "Get me some grub, woman. I'm hungry." And right at the end of Three Doctors, Ollis says, "Supper ready." So maybe it's all.
Yeah.
Do I detect Uncle Terry here somewhere?
Terrence Dix is hungry at this point when he's writing.
Well,
Finish the script. What's for dinner?
he always
Terrence
admits
Dix is always
sure,
hungry.
wasn't he? Oh, bless him. What we got here from Legion of James: Spearhead from space is the perfect starting point for newcomers to proper Who. The entire season 7 will definitely have them hooked. Absolutely. And Julie's pointing out it was the 4-year-old me who thought she had died. Oh, 4. Oh, little baby Julie. That is so sweet. There she was.
I'm
watching
amazed
the
how many
Auton.
people have seen this on an original broadcast or when they were
Yeah.
quite young. That's incredible, yeah.
We do have a few here that have obviously seen it there. Dalek Eye's with us. Julie's there as well. A few of the others are with us, which is fantastic. Julie, did you have nightmares? Dalek Eye, did you have nightmares over the Autons? Please let me know. We've got here as well for Tardis Travels actor Prentice Hancock's first appearance in Doctor Who. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention him, and I've actually tried to remember. Oh, must mention him.
And the
One of
wonderful
them-
Talfrin Thomas as well, first appearance before the
Yeah.
Green Death. Great actor. Yeah.
One other nitpick here.
Go on.
Mullins, the hospital porter,
Mhm.
he phones one newspaper to give them the story, and yet there's a full press reception waiting for the Brigadier, including TV crews.
Yeah.
Well, all the
Things
media,
leak, George, don't they? Let's be honest.
all
Even
media
there,
outlets are owned by one company anyway. There, so.
Mark, thank you for your super chat. I could be totally biased, but I don't think this is dated as much as the new series will. Oh man, I am going to absolutely 100% agree with you there. Look at this. It's 55 years old and it looks like it was made last week.
yeah.
Come
It's
on.
superb. Absolutely superb.
Just brilliant. And do you know why it hasn't dated, or one of the many reasons it hasn't dated, is because it's not trying to be something it isn't, and it's not set deliberately in the modern day. You don't know what that could be last week. I mean, I get over the fact that the various stores and the way the street looks and all that, but it could. Do you know what I mean? And
There's one thing that
nothing
dates
in
it from
there.
EGT is the cups, those mugs at the end. My granny had those in the 70s, those stripy mugs.
Yeah.
Superb.
Do you know what I mean, though, guys? There is nothing in there that says this was filmed in 1969 for 1970. That's why it's not going to date, whereas the new crap, of course, will. Sorry for anybody who likes the new crap. And we've got here as well. Thank you for your super chat, Lex. I think the 11th hour copy John Pertwee scene getting his clothes from the hospital. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Plus, with the doctor, when the doctor looks at the door saying the doctor's room. Yeah, I know that. Those little things Pertwee just makes a meal of, doesn't he? In a nice subtle way. Like that.
Can I just say about the changing in the costume thing? There's been a few bits of this going on in the chat. I am absolutely obsessed with this man's tattoo. The fact that the doctor's got a tat.
Well, he got it when he was drunk once during the war, apparently.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. So
That's the doctor, not Pertwee.
yeah,
He woke up one
Pertwee,
morning.
not the doctor.
Yeah.
He woke up one morning on board. Was he on the ship, George? I can't remember. But he
Yes.
woke up with this. He said,
Yes.
I remember the convention him
He was-
saying, "Why have I got sticking plaster on my arm?" And I opened it up, and there it was, a cobra. And he said that there's a C on it, and he said he's not sure if that means his girlfriend at the time, who was Carlotta, or
His
something
wife.
else, possibly Cobra. But it was he even didn't know what the C meant.
Yeah. He was so out of it, he wasn't aware that it was gone.
Yeah.
Obsessed.
Funny, isn't it?
The chain as well, the gold chain and the tattoo. First time I saw it, it still made me chuckle when I watched it again today. But the first time I saw it, I was like,
God bless him.
And then
He's singing in the shower, superb as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
He was just magnificent, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, God, he was.
But
Brilliant.
another nitpick, which I'm sure was John Pertwee's personal property, but where does the Doctor get his bling from? Because all of a sudden he's got a ring and a gold wrist chain.
There's obviously an H. Samuels chain on Gallifrey somewhere, perhaps.
He got the ring from the Romans. It was a Roman coin, so he got it from the Romans. That's why.
But Pat Troughton wasn't wearing them, so
No.
That's what you have to wear
not
when you're
evidently.
granted by the Time Lords to be forced to live on Earth. That's
Well,
what happens.
and-
Your jewelry
I mean,
Gallifrey.
Ruining it.
that is getting far too near a conversation about the new series, because Gatwa is wearing them all as well, isn't it? Bling, 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 bling.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So obviously him and
And
the
his nail varnish as well, and all that rubbish.
yeah. Oh,
and
we've got-
his TARDIS detector watch which he's got in episode 2. He's not wearing it in the hospital bed in episode 1.
Oh, well, George
Now,
has
where
just
did he
ruined
put
Spearhead
it?
from
Was
space
it
for me
in his
now.
shoes with his key? Or was it in a Captain Jack with his gun? Who knows?
I'm going to throw my DVD out. I'm not going to watch it.
Now, you see, they missed the trick there when they brought the show back, didn't they? The TARDIS detector watch. That could have been sold millions by Casio. There you go. There's an idea.
Yeah.
We've got the Ark in Space here as well, saying, I
Other
first saw
what
this on the
brands are
BBC Two repeat in 2000 at 9 years old. Oh, how fabulous. What a thrill that must have been for you as well. 9-year-old. Look, 9-year-old in 2000 and discovering Spearhead from space. That is a joy
I
to
love
hear.
the trailer for that Doctor Who night. Is it the Doctor Who night, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
I love the trailer for Spearhead from space with the modern music and the edit. It's done really well, I think.
Yeah. Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah. New Who Hater is saying, my dad says it was scarier than a lot of the horror films at the time.
It was certainly on a par with them. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm very, very familiar with horror films at the time, and yeah, it's certainly on a par with them.
Yeah, definitely.
George, did you see this on original broadcast when you were little, or you too young for that?
I may have done, but I've got absolutely no memory of it. The first episode I've got a very clear memory of watching is episode 1 of The Demons.
Right.
Right. Okay. So you might have seen that.
We may have seen the repeat, perhaps, or not. You know,
Possibly, but again, I mean, it's highly likely because I have 2 older brothers, both of whom absolutely love Doctor Who. So as a family, Doctor Who was essential viewing; it was never missed. So, it's highly likely that I would have seen it, if not on its original broadcast, on the repeat, or possibly both. But I just can't remember.
We've got SM here joining us as well. Nice to see you, SM. I love the 3 Doctors, a dandy and a clown. Thank you for that. Nice to see you. Stephen Braddock, I saw it at 5 years old in spooky black and white, and it was so scary as a kid. The Autons and Channing, I was hooked. That's the thing, isn't it? Children love being frightened, and we come back for more.
Bring back the monsters.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Prince Valium is saying to us here, Spearhead is my very first Doctor Who memory on the first broadcast. How fabulous.
Wow. Lovely.
Steve Hindley is saying journalists haven't changed as they make up a story that the Doctor had hidden one of the globes. Okay. Yeah, got that. Georgie Boy is also saying there's no Big Brother or Weakest Link cringe here. Very true.
Yeah.
And here's Julie saying, yes, when we went shopping in Middlesbrough, the big department shops like Bins had all those creepy shop dummies, and it scared me for years. Thank you. Oh, that's lovely. And Dalek Eye is saying, I never had nightmares, JT, but my mother hated the Autons, as I would refuse to walk past a shop window with mannequins, and we would have to cross the road.
Possibly one of the most accurate action figures for obvious reasons too. It's plastic.
But that is Doctor Who, isn't it? That is Doctor Who. It sits there in a kid's psyche after seeing it, and everywhere they go,
Unnerving.
Yeah. I mean, what a wonderful time to grow up when you got that on telly and you were growing up with it. Wonderful stuff.
Yeah, brilliant.
All it was a boiler suit and a head mask.
Exactly. Yeah. So simple and fairly relatively cheap.
Yeah.
I love all this conversation that's coming on here. Mark A. Ray is saying to us, surely the tattoo was a decision named by the Time Lords. And that just tied into what Steve Hindley is saying, which does remind me of this. Steve, I have forgotten all about this because it was the 90s. Remember the theory that tattoo was a convicted criminal brand from the Time Lords?
Yeah, remember that? Yeah.
Yes. I do.
I'd buy that, definitely. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'd forgotten all about that. Isn't that weird?
That's what the C stands for then, criminal.
Yeah.
It's
all planned. It was all planned. Yeah.
I'd forgotten all about that. Lex, thank you for your super chat. Plus, character Paul from Space 1999 had a cameo in Spearhead from Space as the news reporter. He absolutely did. And wouldn't see him again for a few years though after that, do we? New Who Hater is saying to us here, the Time Lords gave him a tat and jewelry. Well, it certainly wasn't the BBC.
Maybe the chain was the equivalent of an ankle tag.
Could be. Yeah.
Lee. Hello, Lee Patton. Nice to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. I was hooked by Doctor Who as a 5-year-old in 73, and John Pertwee will always be my doctor. Hearing the love for his first story is great, and Spearhead is pure class. How could we not love Pertwee?
The way he entered a room with that cloak and it just. Tom was right when he says he glitters. He walked into. I remember the con. I mean, you've all met him as well. But when at the con, when he walked in he walked through the foyer, and he'd just been having his breakfast. And I was only 15, and it wasn't. Oh, there's the actor who played Doctor Who. It was the Doctor, and he wasn't even wearing the outfit. He was just going for it. But he just lit up a room. It was incredible.
Yeah, fabulous.
I want to say thank you to everybody that's joining us and telling us about them watching this on the first broadcast, the original broadcast, all those years ago, 55 years ago. This is fantastic. We've got Tardis Travel saying, I remember eating a bag of sweets while watching it the first time around, while I was 7 years old at the time. And Andy's Vinyl saying, first broadcast for this 4-year-old too, and I've never looked back. Isn't that lovely? I love all
I
this.
love the illustration from Auton Invasion there. That's superb.
yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah.
Shows
Georgie
the
Boy's
guns
quite
dropping
rightly
away at
saying-
the wrist, doesn't it?
Sorry, Ian?
Shows the guns dropping away at the wrist as opposed to the side of the hand. That's one of the
Yes.
things when I first saw it,
And you
I'd
can all-
always, in my head, it was guns coming out the wrist.
And
Yeah.
you can all hear that sound effect.
And then you see the fingers dropping down, which I
Yes.
actually think is better. And it's like, oh, wow, well, that's different. Loved it.
Yeah.
And you never actually see, and I can't phrase this any better than this, so I apologize on this. You never see the fingers go back up.
Yeah.
There he goes again, everybody. Georgie
Did you
Boy.
write that one down, Ian? Write that one down. Yes.
Georgie Boy quite rightly saying to us, being scared by TV like in Doctor Who made us what we are, resilient. Here, Georgie Boy. Actually, absolutely wonderfully said. Thank you so much. And Demorpin, as someone who wasn't around in the 70s, part of what I love in Spearhead is the streets and rooms that are very of that time. I do think it's extremely marked by when it was filmed, but that's an A+. I know what you mean. I mean, that's my Britain. That's the Britain I grew up in that you see in 70s Doctor Who when they do go out. That's the Britain I miss to an extent. But, you know, I still think you can look at something and hold that disbelief with these stories because you're not quite sure when it is. And I've said the story before, haven't I, guys, about myself and some friends at convention years ago asked Uncle Terry, when exactly is the Pertwee era set? And he very cleverly turned around and went, 5 minutes in your future.
But also, like, for me, I watch it and I think, okay, yeah, the environment is dated because it's the 70s, but he's a time traveler.
Yeah.
The character's solid.
Yeah.
He's just in that era. That's how I watch it, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't I just, you know, when you see certain dated things that companions say in that era, you think, well, they're from the 80s, they're from the 70s, they're from the whatever.
No, I mean, you've got to be careful. This is why these wonderful scripts 55 years later, 60 years later, whatever it's going to be. This is why I always say proper Doctor Who is going to live forever. The new version, in my opinion, sorry, everybody, not so much because it's dated. It's absolutely the language, the way they
The
talk,
narrative is dated.
it's terrible. And it's actually very painful to listen to at some point. You know, there's a whole speech in the Aliens of London thing about gay, isn't it? I mean, oh, shut up. You never get any of that in this in proper Doctor Who because it's class.
Oh, that's right. It's said as an insult, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just thought,
Yeah.
well, anyway, we'll talk about that some other time. We've got this from Noodle Arms saying the days when you could get cards out of your cereal. Do you know, I found out, Noodle Arms, just a couple of years ago why they don't do that anymore now. They're frightened that the kids might choke on something.
Oh, for God's sake. If they're going to choke
I
on
knew it'd be
some
health and
bigger
safety.
cards, then it's just Darwinism, isn't it?
They're more
Well,
likely to choke on the cereal.
Can you imagine if you opened up your Weetabix or your cornflakes or your Rice Krispies or your Cocoa Pops or whatever it's going to be, and a great big Doctor Who card came out with the Dalek on? You're not going to eat it, are you?
Let's talk about Weetabix. You're giving me flashbacks now. I've eaten too many Weetabix over the years. Like the cards.
That explains why our age group have all got wind. Anyway, what else we got here? Tardis Travel saying to us here, there was no other program like Doctor Who at the time back in the 70s other than the Jerry Anderson's UFO. Yeah.
Classic series.
We were so lucky, really, weren't we, from this month on? Because, you know, as I say, for me, as I say, Spearhead and season 7 does fit into all that fantastic explosion of British telly. You know, that was a wonderful, George.
Yeah, one thing about Spearhead from Space, though, which I think, and no disrespect to Jerry Anderson's work in UFO in particular, puts it head and shoulders above and proves how inventive and resourceful that everybody involved in the production were. UFO was filmed on what was at the time a mega budget on 35mm film at, I think it was Elstree Studios, if I remember rightly. It was done on the sort of, it was done on the sort of budget that Derek Sherwin could only have in a fever dream. And yet Spearhead from Space is every bit as good as UFO, and in my opinion, actually better.
Yeah.
Definitely better, yeah.
Yes, well said. Well said, because it's brilliant, isn't it? Oh, wow. Love that.
Although UFO did have an episode called Time Lash. I wonder if that's the one Phil actually means.
Where is Phil? What happened to Phil?
That makes sense.
He's
He's
in a
on
time
that.
ready as we speak.
Phil's
so-
got to do adult things now.
Oh,
There you go. He's gone to look after the kids and put them to bed and all that sort of stuff. So thanks, Phil, for that. We do have a score on the TARDIS door here, though. We'll be talking about that very, very soon. Stephen Braddock, I remember on the Monday morning at school, everyone was making out to be the Autons, walking stiffly and putting their hands down like an Auton, ready to fire their guns. Happy days. Yeah, you don't get that anymore in the playgrounds. I don't care what they say. They're not going to do that anymore.
I bet there was no bogey monsters in the playground on that Monday.
Yeah, let's all play farting spaceships. Yeah, we've got this from Robert Payne. I remember being afraid of the shop dummies afterwards. Yeah. You still are, aren't you, Robert? Can't go anywhere now, Robert, can you? No. And Bill Lowry, I watched all of season 7 just before my first Doctor Who convention, where I had the pleasure of meeting Caroline John. These are memories that we are so lucky to have. You know, they really are, because as somebody was saying in the chat now, we've lost so many now, and it's they're all there, and that makes it all special. Makes it all.
Don't, you're going to get me going.
All that queuing outside 10th Planet and Galaxy 4 and the Who shop, bloody worth it.
Yeah,
You know, really was. And even though I was grumpy at the time, so worth it. Shop dummies still creep me out in the dark, says Paul Rose. Absolutely. And Carmen is saying, what I love with the story is the Doctor and Liz doing all the research and experiments to work out how to solve the problem and not just sonic screwdriver blasting.
Yeah.
Though
It's been thought through properly.
yeah.
it's incredible to think that the sonic screwdriver doesn't appear until the Sea Devils in John Pertwee's tenure.
Yeah. See, they were thinking back
It was
then.
just
That's
a
what we used
tool.
to do.
Which bizarrely was a recycled prop from UFO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which in itself was a dentist tool, wasn't it? Or was that a myth?
Yeah.
I think it was used as a dentist tool in an episode of Joe 90.
Right.
Wonderful.
But it was a tool. It was just part of it. It was
It was in a spaceship toolkit or something like that.
yeah.
That's right.
It
And that's where it
wasn't,
should still be.
It wasn't this gimmick.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
wasn't a magic wand, was it? Yeah.
It
No,
wasn't
but-
Sonic
but we-
Screwdriver TM.
But of course, back then they weren't aware of this thing called marketing and making money. And that's all the Sonic Screwdriver is still in the show for, isn't it? To get a variant out from character, sell it to fans, get some residual back from. That's all it is.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
how's that going for you, everybody? This is Lisa Pertwee saying to us, my old man was 6. Oh, I nearly burst into song then. My old man was 6 on first broadcast. He said he was so scared he couldn't go to the shops like Owen and Owens or Marks and Spencer's for weeks. Oh, I love all those stories. Owen Owens. Oh, God. Do you remember that? Oh, fabulous. Prince Valium saying to us, I was never scared of Doctor Who. I just thought it was the most exciting thing I'd ever seen. Oh, isn't that fab? Oh, God, this is brilliant. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us to talk about Spearhead from space. It's great to see you. Liz hated dummies, so she faced the fear to make this story, says Noodle Arms. Did she? Was that Caroline, or you mean Caroline John? Noodle Arms. Did she didn't like shop window dummies or something? Is that what you're saying? Let me know. Come back to that. Because I didn't know that, if that's true. That's brilliant. Doc Martin's joining us, saying, hi, folks. Nice to see you, mate. How are you? And giving us a little wave there. What do you think of Spearhead from space? Graham is saying to us, imagine sitting down to watch episode 1 and seeing the new title sequence. Even if you only saw it in black and white, it must have been a real, hey, welcome to the 70s moment.
Yeah.
It's one of my favourite title sequences. It's
A great
superb,
title
really is.
sequence.
Yeah.
And I love that little slight variation on the theme. Does it come in at Spearhead? I think it does. There's a slight stutter at the beginning of the theme tune that doesn't appear with any other Doctors, but it's just with Pertwee.
I also love where Spearhead zooms into the camera as well. That's superb, that moment.
Yeah, I wish they'd kept that, actually.
Yeah, it's nice.
Do you? I tend to get by Inferno. I'm fed up with it.
Oh, okay. That's because there's just so many episodes to get through.
Yeah, exactly. I just it was nice to see them experimenting in this particular set, but I'm glad they went back to a sort of traditional.
Fade in.
It sort of set the scene afterwards of what you shouldn't do really when title sequences are there. Don't split it up.
Well, like I said last week, John Pertwee said that about his performance. Have we touched on the comedy? Saying, "Oh, we mustn't do that again."
Yeah. Noodle Arms clarifying there. Caroline John had a fear of dummies, so she faced a fear for this story. Thanks, Noodle Arms. I didn't know that. I
Bless
don't
her.
remember. I've never heard her
I
say
never
that.
heard that story before. I know that Liz Sladen had a phobia of spiders when they planted
Oh,
spiders,
shit.
but I've never
In
heard
a
that
big, big
before.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's a great story. That I love that. Thank you, Noodle Arms. And Legion James, we love these stories and episodes as kids. As adults, we truly appreciate them as our love continues to grow on each viewing. Such an integral part of our lives growing up. And here we still are. Oh, I might cry now. I might do a shooting. Because that is lovely, isn't it?
Oh, get a grip, for goodness sake.
Here's Dr. Martin saying to us here, I liked that even though the Doctor knew that an invasion was coming, he still tried to disappear off with the TARDIS. That's a good point, isn't he? At this point, he doesn't care, does he? He's really not bothered. He's so intent on his own self and getting off there and getting back at the time. I do. I like that too, Dr. Martin. Say, oh, there's an invasion. It's your problem. I don't care.
He wasn't as invested, the character, I mean, wasn't as invested in the human race. He liked the human race, but he wasn't as, I don't know, as over the top as he seems to be in the 21st century. You know, like there's the bit where in Day of the Daleks, when, you know, he's like, oh, well, what's their problem? Well, this is going to escalate into a third world war. And then he's, okay, I'll listen. But he's a bit dismissive. He doesn't really, I don't know. Is it just me?
When he's planning to leave, though, in Spear from Space, when he cons Liz to get the key, that is brilliant. You can see the Doctor,
it's fantastic.
the wheels turning. He's working out, I'm going to get away in a minute. You know, fantastic.
I love that. I love that line. Not on Earth, unfortunately.
Yeah.
He is a very naughty boy with that, isn't he? Very, very naughty.
I have an entire laboratory.
I think I have one of the TARDIS.
Yeah. And I love that. I just love the way she's looking at him, Doctor. Oh, God, you know you're in trouble. Just another.
And the fact that Brigadier knows he's really going, you know, that's brilliant as well.
Well, yeah, and I love the fact that the Brig at that point is quite sort of like, oh no, we've lost him. But then I love also the fact that he twigs very soon. You are stuck here, aren't you?
I've got a bargaining leverage over you now.
Well, when the Doctor looks at him as well, give me the key. Well, it doesn't work. You know, he's like a spoiled child. It's brilliant. It's
Yeah.
My house, the telly's in there. I can see what's going on in 2024. Yeah.
What was really lovely, going off topic a little bit, a good number of years down the line in Megloth, the same TARDIS malfunctioning, dematerializing sound effect was used.
Yeah,
I love all that. That's how it should have been, wasn't that? That showed it was the same show as well. Listen, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. You are joining us for our review, of course, of Spearhead from Space, and our appreciation and our love for this show. 55 years on as part of season 7. This is the second part of 3 parts we've got celebrating series 7. And soon as we're talking about her, let's see what's coming up next, shall we? Next week, yes, look, we are doing one of our companion piece shows. We're going to be talking all about Liz Shaw, Caroline John. So come and join us for that, because we're getting a lot of love for Liz Shaw and Caroline John in our chats on these shows. Let's celebrate her. Let's give her own show. That's next Wednesday here on the channel. That's a
coincidence, isn't it? Considering we're talking
about that is really strange. But I mean, every time I watch season 7, because I must admit, when I first watched it, I didn't know much about Liz Shaw, and she came across as a little bit sort of spiky, you know. But when you watch the entire series, you just go, "Oh, she's so good!" And I just wanted to give her some sort of appreciation, and a little bit of love, because I still think to this day she's one of those one of those companions that I've just forgotten a little bit.
I like her spikiness as well. It's good. Yeah.
It's refreshing, because we're so used to nowadays that all the companions for New Who are just doe-eyed and like with like the love sort of thing going on, and they're just like, oh, well, if she's spiky, but we'll give as good as she was getting, and was on her going on to his level, but and was learning as well.
So, but the Doctor really charms Liz as well, doesn't he?
Yeah,
really
that's right.
There's not any love interest, but there's definite affection between the two, which is lovely.
And it's lovely to hear spiky dialogue, but none of that Whedon-esque post-90s quips that we're getting. I mean, I love Buffy, but Joss Whedon's got a lot to answer for with modern science fiction.
Oh, God. Oh,
for God's sake.
We're getting a lot of love for our forthcoming show. Look at this from John. Liz Shaw, it's about time. Mrs. Lisa Pertwee saying Liz Shaw, yay! Stephen Braddock is saying Mrs. Pertwee's got. I've sent a sketch of Liz to Who's Views. You have. I'll show you next week on that one as well. Thanks for that, Stephen. Pics of Liz in her army uniform and black wig from Inferno, please. Steady on, darling. Lives matter. Steady on. It's not that sort of channel, love, all right? We've got here, yeah, Liz was a badass, says New Who hater. Geordie Boy's telling us, I'm spending a few days in Allendale in Northumberland. Are you really? Which has a little sci-fi museum. Yes, it's Neil Coles. Hi, Neil. Nice to see you. I've been there several times myself. Giving my best. I pass a Dalek in the street every morning on my way to get the newspaper. Yes, it's a beautiful Dalek there as well. Yeah, so
It was covered in snow recently, wasn't it? I saw on Facebook. Yeah.
So yeah,
You got
if you
a
see
police
Neil.
box outside as well.
Sorry?
Has he got a police box outside as well?
He's got a brand new police box that arrived last year out of nowhere overnight. Beautiful, gorgeous one. I must get down there again very soon when the weather gets a bit better. I think I'll go down there and go and see Neil. And a gorgeous museum of classic sci-fi, absolutely stunning. Alien Invaders, little blue men with 3 heads, says Legion of James.
That's Ambassadors of Death, isn't it? After that.
Yeah. Love Liz Shaw, the perfect companion for the Doctor, says Eddie. She was so good as F-word Liz in Inferno. It's all right, Brigade Leader. We're still here. Oh, look at this. You're going to love next week's show, everybody. Liz Shaw was real muscle. I'm sure that must mean that, because it's one of those things I don't know. Kirsty, is that right? I don't know.
Your muscle, yeah.
Oh, phew. And Doc Martin, suitably chilled. The scene in the Waxwork Museum, especially the watch scene, is excellent. It's blooming scary.
The thing, sorry, George, you're going to say the exact same thing as I'm going to say.
Look, you go ahead, therefore.
This is a bit that gets me a bit like George, and it's probably the same point. In the Wax Museum, when after the Auton Scorby's been dealt with, the real one comes to life. But the whole of London or England has been attacked by Autons, but there's still people visiting Madame Tussauds. How does that work?
Because we're British and we
was that what you were going to say, George? Was it?
No, it wasn't actually. I mean, I think like everything else, the scene shot in Madame Tussauds, in the Great Hall in Madame Tussauds, are fantastically well done. But my God, Madame Tussauds need to step up their security. How easy is it to stay behind at night?
Just behind the car.
Just stand still long enough and you'll be right.
Yes.
How many Doctor Who fans over the years tried to stay behind in that location to get the exclusives?
I like the attendant in Madame Tussauds when they're asking him and he's telling them about the process. He looks wonderfully shifty. He's there with his little white beard. If they retconned it now, he'd be the master as well, because beard. You know, you can only be the master. If
he does that wonderful tour guide thing where he's telling people about it and he opens up to everybody to tell the entire room, which is quite funny.
He's looking around. Yes, it's a new process. Wonderfully chippy.
The one thing I think is a bit of a stretch in all of Spearhead from Space is how on earth did Channing and Hibbert get into Madame Tussauds?
Obviously, the two guys on Auton. That's it. Yeah.
Got him to unlock the door. Yeah.
Must have been
activated him early.
Yes, and this one, is borderline nitpick. After Madame Tussauds is closed and the Doctor and Liz appear from behind the curtain, the Doctor's suddenly got a dirty, great big flashlight in his hand. Where did he get that from?
His pockets.
Yeah, these trousers are bigger on the inside, I think.
That shop that sold trunks and things also did
torches.
We've got here Paul Thomas Ashworth saying, Liz Shaw, bring it on. Oh, you're going to love it next week, Paul. Thank you for that. And Sam is saying, all new companions are the most important people in the universe. Liz Shaw is just a normal, capable, and intelligent woman. So much better. Well done. Well done. Loads of you commenting about Liz. So thank you so much. You're going to love our show next week. Come and join us with your memories of Liz throughout Series 7. So yeah, that's going to be thrilling next week. So thank you very much for that. If you're new to the show, please make sure you've subscribed to the channel. We'll appreciate that. So thank you very much. If you've already subscribed to the channel, please make sure you are still subscribed to the channel. Oh, yes, you are. So yeah, we're going to be coming up to this thing we do on Who's Views Reviews very, very soon, which is called Scores on the Tardis Doors. This is where I ask the panel and you in the chat to give us your score for Spearhead from Space out of 10. Okay, so that's all coming up for you in just a minute. Don't put it in yet, but get ready because that is going to be coming to you very, very soon. What else can we say about this? I mean, everything about this is just brilliant, from the Autons themselves and the way they look. And as you were saying, guys, they're very simple. It's a boiler suit and a mask.
Yeah.
Just
they're more scary than Rose. They're more scary than the 2005 version of them trying to do the Autons.
Oh,
easily.
definitely. Yeah.
They did that stupid. They were trying to do that stupid robot walk as well, weren't they? With them in the
Oh, the
new
one that the
series?
Cybermen do.
Yeah.
Well, I
This
know
is
But here
what
they run. These Autons run, and they run
there's-
blooming fast.
Yes. One where it legs it away from the Seeley's cottage. God,
Yeah.
it can outrun them for Christie.
I know. But that also makes it scary. Do you not think, Kirsty, when you've got a
Mhm.
monster like this, or a baddie, or whatever you want to call it? In my day, we just called them monsters.
Yeah.
And it was just like, and when they can run that fast and get away with that fast, or they can
Yeah.
get at you that quickly, blooming hell, that's scary.
It's not like the Mummy walking very slowly, but they still catch you. It's not like that,
Yes.
is it? Yeah.
And the final Auton showdown that was shot at the Guinness bottling plant, which was exactly the same location used for the invasion.
Yeah, I think there's an Airbnb for alien invasion. I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
It is
burst out the
absolutely
same doors,
is.
don't
Yeah.
they?
Yes, it is literally exactly the same place. In fact, some of the shots are very reminiscent to the ones that Douglas Canfield shot for Invasion.
It is. It's
All we
totally
needed
the
was
same, yeah.
Pertwee running down the alleyway, clutching his backside.
The brilliant
I
thing
love that
about
bit
it,
of
though,
Invasion,
is
it's brilliant,
you can't tell. I mean, that's the great thing. Not like today, where in the current Who, you can see every location again just because it's got a new pop plant in the corner or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Kirsty, you were going to say something there. Sorry.
When one of them they go into the tent and he slices it down, and it's like
Yeah, it's scary.
it's not like a slow movement like a Mummy, but it's just the way the 2005 ones they got. They're just trying too hard. This in just a creepy, menacing movement of just just a movement of ugh. For the
They're almost like
2005
zombies a bit, aren't they? Autons, you know. But
2005 one, you can just see like the movement director just being like, "Give me your best zombie," or be like, "Give me your best," like, ooh. And yeah, it's just trying too hard. This is just effortless. That it's that kind of. You don't know whether they're going to run really fast to try and catch you, or it's just going to be a simple turn and they'll get you, or they'll just slowly creep up and get you.
They weren't
Which is-
overly stylized, were they?
Yeah,
No,
it's just
no,
something
it's fab.
simple.
less is definitely more, isn't it? That's the thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks to Paul Thomas Ashworth for your super chat there. And he said, I'm going to put Spearhead on when Who's Views finishes. I've not seen it in years and I loved it as a kid. Oh, you've got to watch it. You've got to watch it, Paul. It's absolutely fantastic. It's an absolute must have. But thank you for your super chat.
I've watched it
I
twice since
enjoy
we
it.
decided to review this. Honestly, it's superb.
I've
Absolutely
watched
superb.
it several
It
times.
doesn't get boring, does it?
Twice. Yeah.
It doesn't
I haven't
get
watched it for
boring.
years.
There's always standout scenes. There's so many of them. It just doesn't get boring. at all.
No, it
I haven't
doesn't.
watched it for years, but I don't need to. It's there in my head. So
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Yeah, we've got Doc Martin saying to us here, I was amazed anyone could run with those flared trousers. And New Who Hater is saying total destruction. Absolutely. Be honest, says Mark A. Wright, you'd be disappointed if you paid to go to Madame Tussauds and all you saw were military blokes you'd never heard of and the odd government minister.
Talking of government ministers, I have another trivial point for you here. There's a guy in the exhibits who's looks like a minister of some description. He's got dark hair, receding hairline, a moustache, and sidey boards. He's the janitor of the learning hall in the Crotons. Watch out for him next time you watch the Crotons.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Crotons. Love the Crotons. We've got that from Graham saying, blimey, I never realised that, George. Now you say it's obvious, but I never realised it was the same location in both stories. Didn't you know that? Oh, yeah.
And then history repeating itself, Robot used the same BBC training facility location as Spearhead from space.
Yeah.
George,
absolutely.
do you know where they filmed the unit interiors for this? Was it in the same BBC grounds or was it somewhere else?
I do, and I can't bring it to the front of my mind. I will find it out for you. It wasn't in the BBC grounds. It was the other location that they used, and I can't think of it. Actually, while we're talking about film locations, it's actually a myth that Spearhead from Space was done entirely on location. There was a little bit done in a studio. The interior of the tent where Ransom gets the end, meets his end with that was done in a studio. I think, I'm not 100% certain, they hired a very small film studio called Goldhawk Film Studios and used it for a couple of days.
Okay.
But particularly
on
on the Blu-ray where he slices open the back of the tent, you can see it's a backdrop. with some dressing
Oh,
around it.
totally can, yeah.
Yeah,
It's lovely done. That'll really come out on the Blu-ray, absolutely.
Yeah.
Tardis Travels, you're being very, very naughty. Yep.
If only it melted down.
Along those lines, I remember years back. Do you remember the Doctor Who experience at Tussauds in London?
Yes, very,
back in
very,
the
very,
80s?
very, very well.
Yeah, I remember going to see that, and then some of the waxworks you see in the Great Hall in Spearhead from Space were still there at that point.
They were there for years. In fact, they've still got some of them because they keep all the heads in boxes. So Tom's head is in there twice somewhere.
Yes,
Yeah,
as is Lala's.
As is Lala, yeah.
Yeah.
We've got this from Julianne as well, saying government ministers are Autons. Nothing changes. Ooh, Julianne, you're so naughty. You
Just
really
taking
are.
their instructions from a mindless entity in Europe.
And Graham says, I love visiting old Who locations. It's a bit of a hobby for me and it's good fun. We better hurry up because the way that Britain's going, none of them are going to be around anymore, I'll tell you.
That's what I did when I lived in the UK. I had a Google Map plug-in that just had Doctor Who locations. So wherever I was, I could check to see what was nearby. It was fantastic.
That's quite sad, isn't it, everybody?
Yeah,
absolutely pathetic. I never went on a date when I was there.
I think that's
not proud of it. But yeah. Can I ask a quick question? And forgive me if it's been covered, and forgive me if it's a stupid question. What was the reason for filming on film, George? The entire anyone?
BBC strike, wasn't it?
It was originally booked. They did the first block of location filming, and then they were going to go into television centre and do the rest of it on electronic tape. Right. There was a BBC dispute which closed down television centre studios, and Derek Sherwin was told you can either lose the number of episodes in the season and scrap it, or we'll look at ways of doing it as an all film, do it on film, but you have to do it on location. It's obvious which one he chose.
Yeah. And
thank God he did.
Yes. Thank goodness. Listen, SG said,
though. Go on, JT. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, SG was saying a lot of Doctor Who locations now are private, corporate owned, and you can't get access to it. It's true. Yeah, go on, Ian.
No, I just think, there's so many just happy accidents that happened to bring this story about. War Games, that was where Doctor Who ended. It was a happy accident that they couldn't fill the schedule, so they got another series. And then it was a happy accident that there was a BBC strike that made this story so much more impactful because it was made all on location and all on film. And I just think, just getting all those things happening all at the same time to result in this, that we are still fawning over, quite rightly, 55 years later, and will be. Let's all get back again at 75 years. And
it's a date, Ian. It's a date. Okay.
Unfortunately, there wasn't the happy accident that put the series on to an all-film production permanently, but you can't have everything.
Well, that's true.
Can I just very quickly say, JT, I've just noticed in the chat, Kez the Drone has said, I'd like to do some locations with my drone.
Yes, I was just about to bring that up. Graham, if you haven't seen this, Graham was just saying to us there how he likes to go around the locations. Kez the Drone, Graham, if you haven't seen, has got back to you saying, I'd like to do some locations with my drone this year. I'm in Cheshire.
Can I just say then, Kez, I'm sure you probably know it, but just in case you don't, Peckforton Castle, about 4 or 5 miles outside Nantwich in Cheshire, is the location for the Time Warrior. And if you go to it, it still looks the same. You can stand the famous photographs of Liz against the wall with Lynx behind her. That is all exactly as it was. I grew up just down the road from it.
Oh, wow.
That'd be brilliant. And listen, if you do some drone footage, let us know. The email address is whosviews1@gmail.com, and we'll put it into the Time Warrior or something like that. Whatever you do, let us know. And
Can I ask another question? Was Ron Moody actually approached?
Yeah, he turned it down.
He was approached, right?
Yes. Quite a few years ago, I read an interview with Ron Moody where he said the biggest professional mistake he ever made in his life was turning down Doctor Who. Yeah.
I read the same thing. Yeah. And he took it with him, bless him. Yokai63 is saying to us, by far the best Auton story and one of my very favourite Pertwee serials. Well, I'm glad you've said that, because now, everybody, it is that time. Let's go into it. Okay, so yes, it is scores on the Tardis doors. Phil was with us earlier before. He's giving Spearhead from Space 9 out of 10, and he said he deducted the point just to annoy Third Doctor Ian.
That's revenge for Time Lash, I bet it is, yeah.
Thanks for that, Phil. Emilio was also supposed to be joining us. I think he's watching us. So Emilio is poorly. Get well soon, mate. Get well soon. Bless him. But he sent me his
chicken
score
soup
earlier. Chicken soup.
Yeah.
Emilio said to us about Spearhead from Space, this does a perfect job of introducing a new Doctor. Pertwee is spectacular from the first minute on screen. It also sets up the dynamic between the Brigadier and Liz. Gosh, I love this episode. The Autons are great villains. They look so creepy, unlike the modern version, and the threat has scale. Perfecto mundo, and Emilio gives it 10 out of 10. So thank you for that, Emilio.
Emilio's a fantastic chap. He's at least 10% better than Phil is.
At least.
And also he's the best dressed man in London.
Yes.
With his Who's Views. Absolutely. Well, now, yeah, everybody in the chat, you've started to put your scores of the TARDIS doors in the chat. So thank you so much for that. Keep that coming as I go straight to Kirsty, the lady of the chat herself, to ask Kirsty, what are your scores on the TARDIS door for the Spearhead for Space?
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It is the best episodes I have ever seen in classic Who. John Pertwee, though, based. I love the tattoo. I love the chain. I'm obsessed. Bam, bam. Thank you, ma'am. I give it 10.
Woo! Fantastic. All right then, Paul, what are you going to give this one?
Before I give the score, I've got one more trivial thing I want to mention, okay? For me being a nerd. Did I tell you I'm a nerd, okay? I've watched this millions of times and I've spotted lots of things that I love. I love to see things when they're stage hands and shot and stuff like that. Well, but it's only through loving the show. That's a brilliant episode, this. But Sam Seeley's got his trunk in the doorway of his hut, and his wife tries to come and find out what he's up to. And there's another moment of the hand of Sutek that knocks over the top lid of the trunk. You can see it doing that, popping into shot and knocking the trunk lid down. Watch out for that next time you watch it. It doesn't kill my love of the show. I love this. It's one of my favourite stories. Pertwee's brilliant. It's wonderfully shot on film. I adore this. The Autons are great. Nick, Liz, fantastic. Hugh Burden, amazing cast. Love it. Tarfrin Thomas, superb. 10 out of 10. Superb.
Well done. Fantastic. Yeah. Right. George, what are you going to give this one?
Well, despite my nitpicks, and they are only nitpicks, this is I'm just saying what everybody else is saying here is absolutely wonderful stuff. I mean, the every single member of the cast is brilliant, and John Pertwee stands head and shoulders above them all. Which is why I think it's such a shame that he's a bit late to the party, that, you know, he doesn't really get into his stride because of the way it's structured till towards the end of episode 2. Any little flaws in it, I think, are entirely forgivable. It's of its time. I mean, the actual Nestine consciousness monster at the end of episode 4 could have been better realized. The views of it through the glass panel in the tank look a bit rectal.
I can see what you're saying. Yes. Yeah.
Goodness me.
I will never not see that now.
Well, you can't unsee it now, can you? Let's be honest.
Yeah, it was only because I was watching with a friend one time.
And we don't want to know. We don't want to know.
It was pointed out to me.
Your own business, George.
And yeah, I can't not see it. And I described it the polite way, unlike my friend at the time.
Okay, stony ground. What are we going to give it,
as I said many times, it looks absolutely wonderful on film. It's so pacey and it's very evenly paced. It hits the ground running. It doesn't let up. It doesn't lag. It doesn't over-accelerate. It's just fantastic. I don't think it is the best Pertwee story, though. I think there's one that tops this.
Okay.
But it's still an undeniable 10 out of 10 from me.
Wonderful. Is it worth me asking? Go on.
I bet Ian hates it. I bet he does. Yeah.
It's all right, isn't it? I mean, you know, it's, I think it's very clear that I'm going to give this one 11, but I can't So it has to be 10. It's absolute pinnacle of Doctor Who storytelling. It's everything that is Doctor Who. It shows you that basically you need the police box prop, not even the interior. You need the police box prop and a doctor played by an actor who can act, who believes in the part. And you can put those two items anywhere with a decent script, and you've got Doctor Who. And this is a perfect example of it. 10 out of 10.
Superb. And Michael, what are you going to give Spearhead from Space?
Completely miscast. It goes too like too much politics. It's woke. It's just nonsense. Look, this
That's
is what
the current series. Yeah.
this is what got me hooked. This story, as I said, I was aware of Doctor Who. Got hooked on this one, and I would say 11 as well. I'm a third Doctor man myself, and 10. If 10's the highest I can go, then it's 10.
10 out of 10.
It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant,
fantastic. Well, they've all said it for me. It's a 10. It has to be a 10 for Spearhead from Space. What else? Let's get into the chat. This is where we're going to be here for all night now, because everybody is with us, and it's brilliant to see you all with us. And thank you so much for this. This is great. Bear with me. We're going to go through all your scores on the Tardis stores now. We're going to start with Lex Kane. 10 out of 10. I love the scene with the Doctor saying, "I'm not human," doing closing ending line like James Bond. Smith, Dr. John Smith. This is proper Doctor Who. It's not what we're getting today. Killbot is saying to us 10 out of 10. Not just Spearhead, but the entire season is a perfect from me. The Ark in Space has gone a little bit overboard. 1,000 out of 1,000. It's a stone cold classic. Geordie Boy is also giving this a 10 because I remember it so well from the first showing. I love that. Thank you so much, Geordie Boy, for that. And Carwin Morris is saying 8.5 out of 10. Oh, there's always one. Rubber tentacles could have been better, but not a lot wrong here. I heard that in a club once.
You can forgive that, though, can't you?
Yeah.
Not the club, but this bit. Yeah.
Hope you're well, Carmen. It's lovely to see you. John is saying to us it has to be a 10 out of 10. No one really putting a foot wrong. Legion of James, 10 out of 10. Unsurpassed opener to a new series, paving the way for season 7 in its entirety, being top tier. The very best of Doctor Who, as is John Pertwee's portrayal of the Doctor. Stephen Braddock is also, of course, an unequivocal, I can't say it, 100 out of 10. My score is bigger on the inside for this classic. Thank you. Dougie Stewart is back with us saying 10 out of 10. Julie is giving it 20 out of 10. Eddie is doing a solid 10 out of 10. SG is giving it 9 out of 10. The tennis of 10s from me, says Mike Disney. Thank you, Mike. The easiest 10 out of 10 ever, says Graham. It's absolutely sublime in every way. What else is this? Tardis Travels is saying Euston Road, Midlands Road, London was when Liz dreamt to the unit HQ. One bit of location film for Spearhead. I must admit, yes, I do know that. I went that way. I nearly got killed by a bus that one day. But anyway, that's London for you.
It's the underground car park at King's Cross Station where the cars pull in and where Derek Sherwin is.
That's where Derek Sherman is. It still makes me laugh when he turns up. I wish I'd met him. New Who Hater saying Doctor Who was and should be the biggest role in British television. Thank you, New Who Hater. And we've got Gilliam here. Love SFS, First Colour, First John, First Liz, First Autons, and a great welcome back for the Brig. And Unit What's Not to Like, 9 out of 10. Thank you. Paul Thomas Ashworth is saying 10 from what I recall. And now he's going off to watch it, aren't you, mate? Well done. Enjoy every minute. 10 out of 10 in my top 3 of all time, says Sam. Tardis Travels also giving it a 10 out of 10. And Bill's with us saying 10 out of 10. The universe did everything it could. So we got the best story in the best form possible. Ooh, that's deep. Yokai 63, 10 out of 10. The perfect introduction to the Dandy Doctor. I love it. Doc Martin, a solid 10. Absolutely superb. 10 out of 10 all day long, said Andy's final. Steve Hindley saying to us, best season opener. This is fabulous. Best Doctor intro, best Pertwee story, the 10th of 10s out of 10s. Why is it, Who viewers, that something from 55 years ago can get 10s out of 10s out of 10s and something from 10 minutes ago can't? Answers on a postcard too. Mrs. Lisa Pertwee is saying to us, 10 out of 10, perfection, truly perfection at its finest. 8.5 out of 10, says Paul Rose. Not much to fault here, but early Tom was my Doctor as a child. Oh, bless you. I know what you mean. Demorpin is having a laugh by saying, just 2 out of 10. I'm just kidding. And Dalek Eye, it can't be less than 10 out of 10. It's utterly brilliant. Say Rosie Mead, it's a 10 out of 10 from me. And You Who Hater, 10 out of 10, easy for me too. Paul Schlafter, 10 out of 10, perfect Doctor Who. RTD, Bad Wolf, Are you watching? Of course they're not, because they hate us. But here's a message for you. Forbidden Man scores on the doors. What doors? 100 out of 10. And Demorphin says, yeah, solid 10. What else? Oh, SG, get me some grub woman. I'm hungry. 9 out of 10.
There'll be a rabbit and a few onions. That'll be it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Would it be great if she came out if Mrs. CD came out with charcuterie board or something? Here, those olives fresh.
And chucked it at him. Mudcrab, thinking 9 out of 10. The budget didn't quite pull off the ending, and Boss Monster looked a bit silly. But one of the first Doctor Who's I saw as a short person are Julianne. What are you saying to us? 10. Couldn't be anything else. And George gets -6 for nitpicking. Quite right.
George gets -6 for ruining my appreciation of the Auton.
What we got here from Jason Parker. Spearhead does not need to do what 2005 to present Who does by having to tell us countless times this is scary. It actually is scary. What a difference using film instead of video does. Stunning. You're right there, Jason.
It's got atmosphere. That's what's important.
Yes, a scary atmosphere. I love it. Kess the Drone, 9 out of 10. It only loses 1 because I think there's better in season 7. Oh, very good. And Robin's also giving it a 10, saying preferred the book's impossibly handsome and ruthless Channing. John Mason said 10 out of 10 as well. With Paul Stanford's also come back saying a perfect introduction to the Third Doctor, a perfect introduction to the Third Doctor's era, an amazing suspenseful story, 9 out of 10. Peter Venkman fansite, 10 out of 10. Perfect characterizations, chemistry, and story. Look, George trying to find faults as the Forbidden Man.
Just observations to open up the conversation.
An opinion, that's important.
Exactly. Lee Patton is saying 10. It's the best introduction story for a Doctor. Dalek Lives Matter is also given us 10 out of 10. Mark A. Wright, 9 out of 10. If it had some crying in it, then it would have been the full 10. Oh, you're terrible. Lex wants to know, saying, great show, guys. Are we doing Inferno sometime? Of course we are. We'll do them all at some point, but I just don't know when yet. I don't know. Is this going to be a record scores on the TARDIS door, all 10s? It could possibly well be.
It would have been apart from Phil, of course. He spoiled that, didn't he? Yes.
Get that, Phil, everybody. Send him the messages now. Komodo. Yeah, he's getting revenge. Komodo, 10 out of 10. They hit the ground running like Concorde. To think about.
That's time flight, isn't it?
Yeah. And Jason Parker saying, yeah, it's 10 out of 10. This film is classy, sharp, and keeps my attention throughout. It does, really does. The whole story feels like a feature film, even if it's in episodic form. Yeah, absolutely. Any more for any more here? Have we got any more? Let's have a quick look there from everybody. Oh, Killbot Kill saying to us, the Beeb had a proper drama department back then. What happened? Well, they sold most of it off. Honestly, that's what happened. And then we get all these weird lot coming in. Anyway, wrong show for that. Come back on Sunday. What else we got there? Thank you for that. Any more for scores on the TARDIS store, everybody? No. Is that it? Is that all we've got? Well, thank you so much. That's brilliant. That was brilliant. Phew, I'm exhausted. I'll need a cup of tea now, everybody. That's fantastic. Listen, that was it. That was our review of Spearhead from Space being screened 55 years ago. Now, this very time, this very month. I love thinking about that. Isn't that amazing? Back
I don't.
Well, everybody back then 55 years ago watching it and being thrilled by this amazing story. I think that's absolutely fantastic. And all the scores here have just proved proper storytelling, eh?
Yeah. Proper
acting.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm going to say. Andy's Vinyl is saying to us, great show, everyone. Thank you so much. And Tim Kins is with us saying, I need a bicky and a lie down. Hey, Tim Kins, did you give your score on the TARDIS store? Did we get one from Tim Kins? I don't think we did we?
Need a cigarette after George's description.
Steve Marigolds. Best review yet. Thank you, Steve. Thanks so much to everyone on the panel in the chat. Yeah. And SG is saying to us, proper storytelling is a lost art. Paul Schlafter saying what we've been saying on this channel for a couple of years now: bring back proper Doctor Who. Yes, please. A 3-hour review of the 3 Doctors next, JT, says Mrs. Lisa.
One per doctor.
we have done the 3 Doctors, haven't we? We have, yeah.
It's great to see you all there. So thank you everybody for joining us for this, our review of Spearhead from Space. And Komodo was saying to us here, I watched it last night and I could watch it all over again. Georgie Boy saying, good night and thank you for an evening filled with tears of laughter, the right kind of tears for Doctor Who. Yeah, not the sort of tears that we're getting these days. And here he is, Tim Kins himself. Sorry, 10, my joint favourite new Doctor story with the 11th hour. There we go. Carwin for you, George. Well done, George. Oh, different space.
I'm going to write that my programme guide. Where is it? Yeah.
Along those lines, can I just say, the Ark in Space for me.
Oh, no.
If you've ever listened to the commentary track that Tom Baker MBE did with Liz Sladen when it was first released on DVD, there's a scene in episode 1 where Tom and Ian Marter are scrabbling around on Nerva Beacon's floor with the backsides up in the air. And on the commentary, Tom, out of nowhere, just says, oh, what jaunty buttocks we had in those days.
Courage sauce.
So for me, the Ark in Space is forever known as the jaunty buttocks in space.
And of course, Creature from the Pit goes without saying.
Yes. All still to come on this channel, of course, as well. Listen, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. Stay tuned with us and make sure you're subscribed here on Who's Views. We've got some shows coming up for you over the next few days as well. And of course, we will be back with the big show for you on Sundays, live at 8 UK time here. Headlines, we'll all be here. Don't miss it. We've got a lot to discuss this week. From Kirsty, from Paul, from George, from Third Doctor Ian, from Michael, from also as well from Phil, and I'm also going to say from Emilio, because I know he's been watching as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's been a great show. Really enjoyed it. 55 years. We'll see you for all the shows that are coming up over the weekend. And of course, next week, next Wednesday, it's our Caroline, John, and Liz tribute show. Come and watch that. Good night, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Nice to
We'll
see
see you again soon, right, everybody? Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.